Good morning, everybody. You are tuned to Computers 2K now on the Nissan Communications Network. I'm Anman, your host for the next few hours, along with Bruce.
Hello, greetings.
Hello. And Spence is back. Yay!
Good morning.
Good morning. Mike's probably going to be here in a few minutes. I know he's got company. Our number is 919-518-9773, Computers 2K Voice on Skype. And today is July 14th. This is a Tom Sinclair special, so he knows we are on July 14th. Tom, this is July 14th show.
7:14.
7:14. And today's show is being brought to you by that VidBlast guy, Tom Sinclair. www.thatvidblastguy.com. All right. Been another week. Spence, you've been traveling.
I have, and I have to say that I have a sad report to make.
Uh-oh.
And that is the state of hotel Wi-Fi is not very good.
Well,
I would say on average, the performance I got, if I could connect from my room and stay connected, the performance was very poor. And this is across a broad spectrum of different types of hotels.
I think Bruce would argue with you about that. I don't know. Bruce always manages.
Well, I have experienced bad Wi-Fi in motels, to be sure. But where I stay every month, the Fairfield Inn Marriott in Melbourne, Florida, on 192, has Cat 5 internet right at the desk. Nice little lamp, phone right here. It's a portable office. I go there and I plug in the Cat 5 cable, and the password is guest at Fairfield, in case you're wondering. And it's like it's like 8 megabytes down, 6 up. But I will tell you this, that on Friday morning when I woke up to do my Morning Manna podcast, the internet was down. I mean, it was just there was nothing, not Wi-Fi, not Cat 5, nothing. And an issue with Bright House cable there in Florida. And but by the time I got back from work that afternoon, it was back up and running.
Oh, I have to say, to caveat this, I did never use the wired connection.
Mm-hmm.
So I used wireless. And most cases, if you went to the lobby, it worked fine.
Yeah.
But even
talking, I'm going to
then,
get something to show you.
Okay.
It was slow. But I stayed at Holiday Inns. I stayed at like Quality Inns. I stayed at bed and breakfasts. I stayed at Candlewood Suites. I stayed at a lot of different types of properties, and many places advertised Wi-Fi, and could not get it to work in the room. And that was across either iPhone, iPad, or a PC. It's just the network would just go up and down, up and down, up and down. And all I could do was sit there and think, I would love to have a little consulting job going around and assessing Wi-Fi. I used to do this in the early days of wireless, back when we were selling access points. I used to do site surveys for customers, and that included hotels. And we would go around literally with a access point on a tripod and put it in different places and measure signal strength and do an assessment of, I even did the local arena here and a baseball stadium. So it was fun to do and to get an idea of what affects Wi-Fi. But if I was working from the hotel, I would have used a wired connection. But for casual use, unfortunately, in most cases, the wireless access was unacceptable. Unfortunately.
Okay, so this is your friend right here. This is I bought this from Newegg. The company's name is Roswell, but you just unplug this section here. It's got a USB connector, and it's got a little antenna. This is wireless in, and it will pick up Wi-Fi signals that you won't otherwise see from the Wi-Fi, built-in Wi-Fi on your laptop, and likewise, it will get stronger signal. So it works really good. You just plug it into your USB port, bring up this little antenna, One of the issues with motels is that the Wi-Fi, the little dealies, the antennas, may be farther from your room. I mean, they have multiple ones on multiple floors, and then there's some other software. Well, I use on my on my beautiful Samsung Galaxy Note 2, as I'm known to refer to it. There's a number of apps that will show signal strength on different places, and I make sure that I'm connecting to the right one. But this is a nice little device, so I'll see if I can find.
That's. I have a similar device, a little older, that actually has a directional panel antenna, which is nice, where you can just point it in the right direction to get better signal strength.
But I did.
Bruce,
since he's not here, I thought I would pot up this song for you.
I'm a traveling man, made a lot of stops.
So anyway, okay, that's for Mike.
But you make a good point, Bruce. There are a lot of, unfortunately, a lot of what we call honeypots out there that are looking for people to connect to their networks. I mean, especially in New York City, you could just fill the page with the number of Wi-Fi networks that were available that showed. But I was in one hotel, and they had their hotel Wi-Fi, and there were no other hotels in the area. And there was another one that was a very strong signal that said something like "connect here," and it was an unprotected network. And I'm like, who did this? Why?
Wow.
So got to be careful that you connect to the network. That's the hotel network, and use their information that they give you on check-in, so that you're not connecting to a suspicious network, one that's got that might be doing
malicious stuff.
Have bad intentions.
Yeah.
So.
Now, do you really think that these hotels? I mean, Bruce was saying they have access points on different levels. Do you really think that these hotels are going out of the way and putting access points on every floor and all that, or is it bad because they have a little $49 wireless router that's in the office and it provides for the hotel?
Depends on whether they want to appeal to business travelers. If they want to appeal to business travelers, they better do it.
I understand, but in the case of weak and bad and dropping and all that, Spence, what do you think?
Well, knowing the way these buildings are constructed,
yeah,
they have to have them on multiple floors, because typically a typical motel or hotel is built with concrete block and rebar construction. The floors are made with metal, corrugated metal with cement board on top of it. So signals do not pass through those surfaces at all, if at all. So they've got to have a distributed network. When we would design these things, we would usually pick, say the average hotel, where you've got a center, stairwell, elevator, and then you've got some corridor of rooms going off in both directions. You would have to have an access point at the end of every floor, the middle of every floor. And then sometimes at least one extra one in the lobby or in the coffee area or the breakfast area. And then because you couldn't cover that area, it was just the signals would not be, it would not be possible to have that many people on the network and for it to successfully work. Once you get over 20 or so people on a single Wi-Fi network, all trying to use it at the same time, if the conditions are poor, it's going to be an awful experience.
Yeah. Hey, Puppies has a question in the chat. I don't know if you've seen it, regarding his aunt, who's a PC, that she's unable to play a movie on a DVD using Windows Media Player. I wonder what the issue might be there, because, I mean, normally you'd think it would pick up a DVD easily. Obviously there'd be some other formats that you might not have the codec for, and you'd have to download that. No. But have you seen any issues with the DVD, or could it be it's an international version or from a different country and it's not wanting to play?
One question, did it ever work?
No, I mean, the first, look what I put there. Does she have a CD player or a DVD player in the computer? That's first.
Well, yeah.
I mean, a lot of people, it opens the same way and it takes the same size media. People don't know whether it's a DVD player or a CD player. So that's the first thing. But I agree with you. It should just pick it up automatically, or at least say something that you need something. But if it doesn't do anything, that's why I said there could be hundreds of reasons.
Yeah.
It
Plus,
all depends.
if it's a DVD player, the laptop undoubtedly came with at least a basic free version of some other DVD playing software.
Right.
And if
like
that's
Power,
not, if that's not
Power
there,
DVD or
Yeah.
something.
right?
Right. So without really putting your hands on it and finding out, it's almost impossible to tell.
But I would look at what software has been installed, if it did work, what software has been installed since it worked the last time. And if you have installed some new software, what is it? Could it be some other application that would contend for resources? And just do a very basic thing, put the disk in the drive and go to my computer, to the drive itself, see if you see the folders that would normally contain a DVD video media, and to see that it's actually reading the disk. And if it doesn't read the disk, try a music disk, for example, and see if that works. So just kind of eliminate things and work your way back to see what in fact does work and what doesn't work. But I think the most important question is, let's see.
Continue talking. I want to go call Mike because I'm getting a little worried.
Okay. Well, yeah, Bruce, remember in the older days when this used to be a real issue when you started adding a DVD player to a desktop, for example, and what the gyrations you would go through to try to get it to play the DVD.
Yeah.
It was fun trying to find a free codec and software. But
BlackBerry could get a break. Have you been noticing the plummeting prices on their Z10? You can get it as cheap as $49 at Amazon right now.
Yeah.
Boy, they keep trying and trying. I just almost feel like they're jinxed or something, you know?
Well, the ones who've been waiting for the update, I'm sure, are happy.
Yeah.
Who are BlackBerry users who have made the investment in the enterprise server and are used to doing it that way. But it was interesting as I parted company, when I left my job, as I cleaned up all my devices and removed corporate mail from iPads and iPhones and so on, I started to migrate from Exchange over to, I ported all of my contacts and calendar over to Gmail so I'd have a way of syncing with my phone. And at first I thought it was going to be really difficult, and it turned out to be actually easier than I expected. I wonder if I was coming from BlackBerry, how I would have moved that over. I'm not sure that I would have been able to do that. But I'm using an application or a standard, I should say, that Google created called, hold on one second, I got to get my phone. You can sync calendar and contacts within the actual configuration of the mail application on your phone, but there's an easier way to do it. Once you set it up in Gmail, and there are other mail applications that support this, you use a new standard that's called CalDAV and CardDAV. Have you seen this, Bruce?
No, I haven't.
It's a separate entry on your accounts on your phone. So if you can see, I don't know if you're able to see that or not.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to see it. But CalDAV and CardDAV are a standard way of accessing calendar and contact information from within your Google email account or other accounts that support it. And it's actually a separate setup, uses the same credentials as your email account, but does a great job of synchronizing. I did it first through the email account, and the synchronization was a little flaky. But once I moved to CalDAV and CardDAV, it works great. So now I was able to export my calendar and export my contacts from Exchange to a comma-separated format and import it in using my Gmail account. and I'm up and running, and I preserved everything, and I'm very happy. Work good.
Are you familiar with the cell phone company Cricket?
Yes.
Did you see this last week that AT&T bought them? I think it was for $1.19 billion.
I had heard that that it was happening. I didn't realize it actually happened yet.
Yeah.
I hope they don't corrupt them because they were really good. I'm not sure how good their coverage was across the country, but if you wanted a local access in a metropolitan area to inexpensive prepaid wireless data and phone, it was a great company.
Were Cricket phones GSM or were they CDMA? Do you know?
I believe they were. I think they were using the AT&T network. I can't confirm that for sure.
Yeah.
I believe it was GSM. I can check.
And my daughter is a Metro PCS user. Of course, it's not available everywhere, but she really likes it. And her daughter, my granddaughter, moved down there with her to Florida. She's going to college down there, and went ahead and got it's an Android phone by a company called Huawei. The clerks call it Howie, but it's not Howie. But it's it's probably a Chinese Taiwanese phone, but not a bad little Android phone.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Talking about why.
Yeah.
Do you have G4 where you are? I mean 4G.
We don't have 4G LTE in Lynchburg, but boy, I sure do enjoy it when I'm down there in Melbourne, Florida.
Spence, do you have?
Limited. It's here, but it's the signal strength. From my experience, anyway, the signal strength is low. My daughter can get it on her phone, but she says it because it's a weak signal, the battery just drains very quickly.
Well, we need to move. Huawei, in collaboration with China Mobile, has successfully deployed 4G services on Mount Everest. About 5,200 meters above sea level. Announcing the development, Huawei revealed that work has completed last month, and users can now access 4G services like streaming live HD video from the base camp on the mountain.
Well, I wanna know why AT&T rolls out 4G LTE to St. Thomas and St. Croix in the U.S. Virgin Islands, and won't let me have 4G LTE in Lynchburg, Virginia.
Yeah,
can you explain that?
There is no way to explain it. The only thing is I don't know what's the usage down there. It may be light usage. I don't know.
Well, maybe it's for the rich and famous who go there.
Oh, yeah, that's true too.
Yeah.
Not maybe. You'll find out that the big wheels at AT&T have permanent dwellings down there.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah.
If it was like my experience with going to the Caribbean, they're going to make a lot of money off of roaming with that system. People will roam to it, not realize what it costs to do that, and potentially have a huge bill.
Yeah. Jeff says AT&T bought Cricket for the Spectrum, and that's what one of the news reports, in fact, the news report that I read about the sale brought that up. So,
good morning, Steve.
I say good morning, chaps. How are you all?
Just fine, thank you.
Awesome.
We're feeling brilliant today.
That's the best way to feel. Better to feel brilliant than to feel rubbish.
Mike, go ahead.
I do apologize in advance that I'm handling my microphone. There's no innuendo meant there whatsoever either.
Are you on stage?
No, I'm sat on my sofa or couch or whatever you call those things in the US of A. Because I've got a ceiling fan in this room, and watching you on the television because it's too blooming hot everywhere else.
you mean you don't have a divan?
A divan? No, Not to my knowledge, anyway. Unless there's one tucked away in the cupboard somewhere.
It's one of those reclining type chairs, where it's like a lazy boy permanently built.
Right. Yes. No, I don't. My father has two, but I don't have any.
Okay.
Mike said that he actually sent an email earlier, which I didn't see. He will probably not be on the show unless his house guests leave before the end of the show. He's spending time with company. What is that? I don't remember what that is.
Company. That's a difficult. I don't seem to remember. I know I heard it before.
919-518-9773. Computers 2K voice on Skype.
So let me ask you a question. I use Google News a lot, and I've got the technology tab open. So I'm looking. I'm checking for latest breaking stories. And I don't know if you can see this. I'm showing it on if it's coming across or not. But here's this story: Microsoft may delay Windows Vista again. What? Why is that showing up in my Google News feed? And when you click it, and I'll click it right now, it goes to a May 2nd, 2008 story, or 2006. This is not good.
I think that maybe there was some server somewhere that got restarted and the timestamp changed.
Or there was a restore.
Yeah, restore. That's true, and restored it to current date. So just put it out there on the news feed.
It shows you
I would be very alarmed by this story, though.
It shows you how often they do backups at Google.
It's probably because Google ended their RSS reader, the Google Reader, isn't it? So it's just relogged everything to today's current date.
Yeah, possible. Absolutely.
Well, they are responsive, though. They got a lot of flack on their new Google Maps version for mobile devices. They took away the ability to use offline maps, which was really important if you didn't have cell connection when you were traveling. You could still have your phone mapping your progress and so forth. And a storm rose of criticism, and so they brought it back. So they're not all bad.
I've been because I switched to a personal wireless plan. I could not get grandfathered into my unlimited data on my phone, so I chose to go with the 2 gig plan, and now I've been on it. Let's see, resets, I believe, another 5 or 6 days. And it was interesting to see as I used my phone. I was careful. I've tried to avoid doing any kind of downloads or video while I was on the broadband network. But it's remarkable how little data I used, actually. And even though I used the mapping software, I used Google Local and other things like that to find hotels or find restaurants or stores and things like that when I was traveling, it really didn't use up that much data.
What is that much?
I was pleased.
What is that
What's
much?
that much?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm on the 2 gig plan, and I used less than 500 meg in 3 weeks.
Yeah, what kills me, I'll stream music with Pandora. I'll use iHeartRadio when I'm traveling down the road. Those don't hurt me. There are two things that really kill me. The one that kills me the most is doing a mobile hangout on my phone. The video data and the audio data from that is just off the charts, and I'm going to have to back away from that. It's fun to do because you can join a hangout from any place. The other one is the Sling Player app. I was in the airport and was wanting to follow some of the current events that are in the news here recently, and brought up the Sling Player app, and I'm streaming video from my Sling box, here just above me, to my phone. I'm watching TV, in the airport, and video just is a real killer for mobile data,
especially if it's in high bit rate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I noticed that I use it for streaming audio when I walk, and it's very low impact audio streaming. The quality isn't all. It's through either Pandora or Stitcher or what's the other app I use? I can't remember what Cloud something. I just found that it was a little cleaner for.
So
the way
you went
SoundCloud
2 weeks and used about 500.
I was on it. I was on the personal plan for at least a week and a half while I was still home.
And
so it's about to reset.
And you used 500?
That's total in 3.5 weeks.
And then if you would have watched one movie,
I would have blown it.
Isn't that amazing?
So that's why I was very interested in the condition and quality of the Wi-Fi in the places I stopped in. When I called in last week, Sunday morning, I was in Manhattan, and I specifically tried to find a place that was relatively quiet where I could get Wi-Fi, and I wound up getting to a Subway, and the Subway advertised free Wi-Fi. I got in there. You could connect to it, but it didn't work. The Wi-Fi was down. Oh, yeah, well, we might be having some problems with our Wi-Fi. So I just happened to find of all places in New York, Time Warner has wireless network that will give you 30 minutes of free access. So I wound up doing that. And that worked fine because 30 minutes was enough. But very interesting.
When you were on Unlimited, did you watch movies?
I did in the beginning because the health club that I go to at the time did not have Wi-Fi. They've since added it. So if I'm on a elliptical machine or a treadmill and I want to watch a Netflix,
Bruce, do you watch?
Show.
Do you stream movies?
I did one time. We watched the Transformer movie that came with the Note 2 when I bought it. And my granddaughter and I were driving to Florida, and we watched it she watched it. But after about 20 minutes, she started getting nauseous watching the movie in the car driving down the road, and we stopped it. So,
I'm wondering when did they get to the point that they know that you're doing it with a phone, and they lowered the bit rate to the point where it's economical, or whether you're on a PC, on Wi-Fi, or on the phone, it's the same thing. The high bit rate, HD, and all that. I mean, I don't see what's the big deal. Why should you have HD on a mobile phone, on a phone? Because you're not blowing it up anyway. Right. So, do you know?
No, I don't know.
Spence? Anybody?
I'll be right back.
Sure. Anybody on the chat? I mean, like right now when we're doing the show, we don't mean for anybody to be driving and watching us. So we are broadcasting just the audio. And I did it on purpose, really low bit rate, so it will not use much of your allotment. But I'm wondering if the same happens with movies. So, Steve?
So, Amnon, so unmute the microphone.
I heard that your government's computers got hacked.
Which day are we talking about?
Oh, that's bad. That is bad.
Yeah. Yes, they've done it again. Well, it makes a change. They usually leave the laptop or whatever it is on the tube or in a taxi or something on the bus. And then they want us give all well, they're getting all their information from us and passing it on to the NSA, and then we reciprocate that for the NSA, and we check through all your records so that they can say, well, we didn't know they were doing that. But yeah, it's it just beggars belief, to be honest. They've always on about this cyber warfare, and we've got to protect against this, and the infrastructures, this, that, and the other. Any person with any technical knowledge, with half a brain, even one brain cell, would realize that if you've got something that's fairly critical infrastructure, you wouldn't have it connect to the internet.
Right.
You would have it on a completely private network right away from anything that's connected to the net. So them saying things like that, it's just a scare tactic, isn't it? They're not going to have gas supplies, water supplies, and electricity and stuff like that connected to the net as we know it. That's just stupid.
Yeah, it's going to get worse, right?
Yeah, because the more that they try and fight back against something that they're assuming is happening, or they're being told by some so-called experts is happening or just about to happen, the more scared they get, the more they try and block it, which makes their life even harder for when somebody does manage to get through, because they didn't have a clue it was coming. The further you go against something, the further you push it underground, which makes it almost impossible to find. So you're cutting your nose off to spite your face at the end of the day.
And then there's
Bruce. I'm sorry, not Bruce. Steve. The Guardian had an article that said that the Russian Guard Service has moved back to typewriters to safeguard themselves from leaks.
Yeah, something like I think it was $4,000 each, but they found them online. They could buy them for $300 or something. So they may want to sort of look at their source for the typewriters.
Boy, I should have saved all those typewriters I had when I used to have a bunch of. When I worked for IBM years ago, I worked in Manhattan, and there was a printing concern that was going digital. This is back in the early 80s, and had all these IBM Model B exec typewriters. These are the ones that are proportional spacing, and these were very complicated machines with these long platens. So they were throwing them away. And I grabbed a couple of them, and thinking that they might be useful, I wound up throwing them away myself. But I should have saved them. Could have made some money on them 30 years later.
I mean, they go back to typewriters, but then what do? You mail it, and the post office can open and read. Then you go ahead.
Well, they must have missed the episode of NCIS where who's the real geeky guy that does all the computer stuff on that team?
Tim.
Tim, yeah. He's an author, and he writes these crime novels, and he uses typewriter. And there's a particular episode where somebody went through his trash and got his typewriter ribbons and got full copies of his stories, and then was acting them out, doing the actual crimes and everything. So the Russians need to be careful that they properly dispose of their typewriter ribbons.
The way to get around that is not to use a single strike ribbon. That's what was. I remember one of our customers in Manhattan when I worked for IBM was the Secret Service. And all of the equipment that they had, any supplies that went into that machine, they took them. We couldn't leave, if it was a copier or a typewriter or whatever, ribbons were destroyed. But you can if you bought a cloth ribbon from an older typewriter that is multi-strike, they call it, where it's just using the ink. More modern ribbons are a transfer technology where you use it once, it actually moves all of the coating on the ribbon to the paper, so it can't be used again. So you can read what they're typed by looking at those used once ribbon. But the multi-use fiber or cloth ribbons can be used multiple times and can't be read. Mm-hmm. Think of the technology we can revive.
I can see it's going to get to the point eventually where parliamentarians and the people in charge and the people that are so petrified of us, the general public, that they'll be starting to look at things like Morse code again. Well, nobody knows what Morse code is. Maybe ham radio operators. Oh, I know, we can use sign language, and then we'll learn that only blind people can understand what we're talking about. That's what it'll get to, is paranoia.
Well,
Bring back semaphore.
Yeah.
Speaking of technology, I don't know if you can see this, but this is a cute little story somebody posted on Facebook. Said, no matter how big and bad you are, when a 2-year-old hands you a toy phone, you answer it. So, typewriters, toy phones. If the phone rings, answer
You do,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, so the post office can open those letters and spy on you. So then you go to carriers, and then the guys get to the carriers and pay them to come by and hand them the notes before it gets to its destination. So what is a... There cannot be any safe, bulletproof way to move information around in this day and age. If somebody is determined to get to your information, they can, one way or another.
Once it's out loud, or it's written down, or it's out in public, that's it. There's nothing you can do about it. The only real safe way, and even that is doubtful these days with them reading brainwaves and stuff, is for you to keep it in your head and don't tell anybody. Then it's secret. It's not out there.
Do you remember the Monty Python joke about the world's funniest joke? You guys remember that episode?
No,
it was so funny you'd die laughing.
Oh.
So they used it as a weapon during World War II, but to translate it into German, they had multiple groups of people only take a piece of it, because if they read the entire joke, the guys would die. So they have the British soldiers marching through the woods, saying the joke, as all together shouting the joke as they're marching through the woods. You just see the German soldiers falling out of the trees and dying laughing. It was very interesting. What we need is to have compartmentalized. I get 2 words of the message, you get 2 words of the message.
Yeah, but who holds the code on who goes first and second and third for the joke to make sense? There always has to be an overseer.
Here's something else about your part of the world, Steve. BBC is reporting a claim that some post office workers in the UK have been sent to jail because of a bug in the accounting software that they use. The post office admits Horizon computer defect. I've worked on safety critical system in the past, and I'm well aware of the potential for software to ruin lives. But now many of us consider the potential for bugs in ordinary software to adversely affect those that use it? And apparently, yeah. So
yeah, I read this story as well. There's in one case, there was a bug in the software, so when they came to tally up or to balance the books, if you like, of an evening, there's one particular case where a woman, I think it came back and said there was something like £2,000 short for the end of the week when she was processing all the transactions that she'd done.
yeah.
And their attitude was, well, no, it can't be a mistake. It must be something at your end. So, in the agreement that the sub-postmaster, this is not the ones that were run and by people that were employed by the post office, but that they were running it as their own little business, like as a subcontractor, as a sub-post office. It was these people that were, I wouldn't say being targeted, but suffering from it. And some people, I think there was one woman that she was accused of discrepancies of something like £34,000, and they sent her to jail. And there was no question of, well, maybe the software is wrong. Well, they've looked at it now and admitted that there was bugs, and it's not just a one-off or a two-off thing. There were several people that have been ruined basically by a bug in this software. Scary, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, now, there's going to have to be some type of, instead of an employer handbook, an employee. When you go to work somewhere, you have to make the employer sign a paper that says, if I use your software and it has bugs, you cannot hold me responsible.
Yet more litigation to protect against the possibility of something not working or not happening.
Yeah.
I kind of doubt that employers would agree to a statement like that.
Well, no, but look at how many employees probably do sign a contract or something that's got, the opposite of in, but they want the job,
absolutely,
don't they?
Yeah. I was going to say, you probably, after going through leaving my job a few weeks ago, the things that I had to sign and agree to, that some of them were expected, but many of them, I thank goodness I didn't have to sign a no-compete, which was good.
Yeah.
But there are all kinds of any knowledge of future products, schedules, technology, anything that any ideas that I came up with while I worked for the company are all the companies, all knowledge of applications and so on. I mean, that's standard boilerplate that you sign to protect themselves. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I would think that those agreements tend to be in favor of the company over protecting the employee.
So, Bruce, are you on AT&T?
I am.
Reports from earlier this week suggest that AT&T is ready to follow in its rivals' footsteps and begin selling the private usage data it collects from its subscribers' phone to advertisers. The data in question is anonymized, according to AT&T, but it includes very sensitive information such as customers' locations, web browsing history, mobile app usage, and more. Now, privacy is something of a hot-button issue right now, so it is likely that a number of AT&T subscribers would prefer to not have their private data sold to advertisers. Luckily, there is a fast and easy way to opt out of AT&T's external marketing and analytics reporting program. And they tell you how to do it. They say, did you do that?
No, I have not. I'd be interested in knowing how. I know they
start by clicking the following link, which goes to http www.att.com/CMP choice. CMP choice. Let's do it while we'll take it step by step. So you go to www.att.com/CMP Charlie Mary Paul choice.
Okay, so it's not attwireless.com.
No,
it's
it's att.com.
Okay.
It says log in with your phone number and password.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, tell us what it is.
Oh. Okay,
And
I'm logging in.
Did you log in?
I got the Rethink Possible. We're getting your account information, and we'll be right with you. Okay. And then
it says you will now find yourself on AT&T's privacy settings page, which includes the following blurb. Our external marketing and analytics reports contain anonymous information about groups of our customers. You may choose to exclude the anonymous information from your accounts from these reports. Please log into each one of your accounts to opt out. Do you see that?
Yeah, I've just checked 3 boxes to opt
Right.
out.
It says check the box next to each wireless phone line you wish to opt out with. Click the submit button.
And it's done.
Each of the selected lines will now be excluded from AT&T's program, while anonymous usage data will still be collected each time you use your phone. That data will not be sold to advertisers. So they still collect it, but they tell you that they are not going to sell it.
Mm-hmm.
So for those of you, again, that want to do it, just go to www.att.com/CMP choice on AT&T and just log in with your phone number and password.
So they say they're not going to sell it, which is absolutely brilliant. But
Well,
they're going to give it to the NSA, who will then sell it.
Yeah, they say they're not going to sell it, but you have to function in this world. So you'd like to think that, okay, at least I did my share.
So I wonder what kind of companies are going to take that information and try to sell products. I found this interesting product. I think they might be on the list who may want to use this service to very specifically market their product.
Subtle, but
I mean, they can't
Spence.
advertise on television, so they may as well use gathered information to have targeted ads. So. Sorry, I digress.
Yeah.
I literally did a quick search on strange new products, and these are the kind of things that show up. Did you see that Google Glass, or Google is going to produce a Google Glass for dogs?
For dogs?
Yes. They say dogs that have an occupation. Or dogs, either cadaver dogs or search
so
dogs.
they could
or,
record where they're going.
Something where they have a job, an assist dog, that they're going to come up with a wearable version for dogs.
What's wrong with putting a GoPro on a dog?
I don't know, but they plan to do it.
I'd like to see.
It'd be a lot cheaper with a GoPro, wouldn't it?
I'd like to
And
see.
when I first read this, I thought it was a joke because project, which was being done by the Georgia Institute of Technology, it's called the Facilitated Interaction for Dogs with Occupations, or wait for it, FIDO.
A what?
FIDO.
Fido. I wonder how a person will react. Like you're stuck somewhere, an earthquake or whatever, and you hear some noises, and a dog sticks his head somewhere with glasses on. And you would think that they're making fun of you, right?
First reaction is turn that thing off. I don't want to be recorded.
Interesting.
Well, it
Nine-
give the dog something to play with, wouldn't it? It would be able to play Minesweeper when you're sat there having a chat with a friend, if it's like a seeing eye dog.
Does
Well,
the
I
dog
think it'd be interesting because the handler could be directing the dog, giving him commands. I see what the dog sees, and I don't know if they're going to make it so that the
Isn't that
dog
the
can
point?
see anything, but
Wouldn't that be the point, though? If it's a seeing eye dog, that's because the person can't see.
well, true. But I mean, I was just thinking how cruel it would be to have the dog actually looking through this thing and throw a bone in the screen.
Oh,
And the dog is trying to get to it. It doesn't exist.
Dragging the blind person behind them. Yeah.
Yes.
Virtual reality.
Yeah,
for
that would be
dogs.
think about the exposure for hackers. That'd be bad.
Well,
Showing
don't
a
they,
clear street when there's really cars going back and forth.
wasn't there something some time back about the what do you call those things that people have put in their pacemakers? That hackers could actually get into the software side of the pacemakers and just turn them off or turn them up or something or another. And there was a bit of a worry about that some time back, wasn't it? I mean, what else are they going to drag up to try and scare the living whatever out of us poor insignificant human beings? Oh no, you could up my heart rate and make my heart explode just by hacking into my pacemaker.
As technology changes, the new ones will get better, and they'll probably include.
You would like to think so.
At least a password, but you're laying there and your pacemaker is failing, and they're trying to help you. Say, "What's your password? What's your password?"
Yeah. Oh, I can't remember. It started with a number.
And I'm sorry, we don't have that version of software. We can't help you.
Yeah, your firmware failed to update. Your pacemaker will cease to operate in 5 seconds. 4, 3. Goodbye. Your license has expired. You are the weak link. Goodbye.
Please say your credit card number now.
I'm sorry, we've determined
contract.
you have a malicious code in your pacemaker.
That's right. You need to pay us $50 to remove it.
Yeah. Last Tuesday, Microsoft had a whole bunch of patches, updates. And there were some notable security updates that dealt with fixing issues in remote code execution vulnerabilities, which allowed attackers to breach in. The security updates are applied to all Windows version. Microsoft is still supporting from XP to Windows 8.1. So I want to ask people on the chat, listeners who are not on the chat, which I don't know why they wouldn't be, did these updates break anything on your computer? Anything? And the reason why I'm asking is because it broke something with the software that we're using here to do the show called VidBlaster.
Didn't that happen? Last month's updates also? You had to back away a bunch of...
That really was not VidBlaster. It wasn't the update's fault. It's a VidBlaster probably bug, but he's not going to own up to it, so you just know how to use it. But here, it was Windows that did it. I still say...
Yellow card. You
Yeah.
said something bad about VidBlaster.
I still say that it's bad programming, because if that's the only thing that broke, then he must have done something. And I'm not a programmer, but I would think that you're using either some kind of a shortcut or the wrong code to accomplish something, and then when there's an update, it breaks it. I mean, it's the only thing I can think of, because I haven't heard from anybody that anything broke. No, it had nothing to do with Flash. It's not the Flash that broke. There's a player module that can play videos or audio, and if you had a WMV in it, it would only show half the screen, like the upper or lower part, the upper part of the screen, I think. So
did you see, in a Microsoft-related story, did you see how they've completed, or put in place, I should say, their reorg?
Their what?
They've reorganized, and they've shuffled control of the company, and they're trying to, in their own words, reestablish Microsoft's reputation as a, quote, a company that helps people get stuff done.
So that's the reason they're having to delay Vista.
That's it. Yeah, the executive committee was reviewing the updates for Vista and said, well, these are not good enough. We're gonna have to wait.
No, they probably did that because they found out that Windows 8 now just passed Vista in usage, so they bring Vista back in order to give it a chance to catch up.
Yep.
Yeah,
But it'll be interesting because having lived through multiple reorgs in the past,
that's
reorgs
yeah.
tend to do one thing: delay everything. Because now you've got new organizations looking at how they're going to do things with new bosses, and everybody's got to basically resubmit their plans, and everything gets reevaluated. And so what it does is it just delays everything that was in process. So it'll be interesting.
A lot of that is to do with the fact that most people now don't know who the hell to go to when they want to find out if they can do something or another. Because, oh, well, that's my job, is it? I thought that was Joe's job. No, it's not. It's Fred's.
Yeah, this way you can do that.
They're saying in an article I was reading, it says, some of what Microsoft is doing mirrors changes that Apple and Google have already executed over the last few years, just a change in the streamlining their development and so on. We saw it coming. It was almost a year ago that we talked. They were going to change the release cycle and how they were going to look at major and minor releases and so on. So that's keeping up with the current thinking behind software maintenance. But Microsoft is a master of making money through subscriptions and through licenses and the way they manage their cycles. So
yeah,
the prices on the tablets are coming down. You can get a Surface RT now, I think, for $349.
Yeah, well, it's not selling, so
yeah, it's not selling. Well, not selling like they hoped.
Why
I think the
anyone would want to,
RT in
knows.
particular was sluggish.
What'd you say, Steve?
Why anyone would want an RT, goodness knows.
Yeah, it was known to be sluggish and be limited and all that. So
It doesn't run any software you've already got. What's the point?
Yep. But he got it cheap.
Yeah, well, and even cheaper if you hang on.
But I have seen the trend for touchscreen laptops is been very good. I mean, I think that's going to make a big difference with business.
You mean there is such?
Oh yeah, the prices keep coming down. I think the cheapest one that I saw today.
Who's got touch screen on a laptop?
Oh, HP, Acer, Dell.
Oh, really?
Yeah, all of them do. Yeah, there many companies have it now, and that was one of the major criticisms that Microsoft had for the manufacturers, saying that you didn't produce a type of platform that people would want, because the tablets were as expensive or more expensive than buying a laptop. And the manufacturer said, "But wait a second, we actually want to sell something, and prices are coming down. So for us to come out with a laptop with a touchscreen that costs $400 more than the equivalent non-touchscreen ain't going to fly." So now they're at the point where they're ramped up manufacturing. They've got, in the beginning, they were mostly small screens that matched up with the same size as tablets. But now they've got 15.6-inch touchscreens, many available. For one example, Dell 15.6-inch i3 touchscreen laptop, $429 with
wow.
$120 off. And there are some other examples. So
we'll get to the specials later.
Yes.
Yeah. But as far as the Surface, I think that's what. And Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong, but is that what Paul was talking about during the show this week? That there was some. I didn't catch the whole from the beginning, but it seems like that's what they were talking about, that it wasn't such great, or maybe it was another one that was not so great. Okay, so he says that the Surface is really good. Which one was he showing that he said that it wasn't clear, and because of it reminded him of the... Andrew, why don't you call in? Yeah, I know, it's Sunday morning and you're shy. Oh, the Acer. Okay.
That's the new one that they just came out with for that runs Windows 8.
Yeah. Did you hear that Microsoft is dropping the price on the Windows RT Surface by $140?
Yep,
How much is it now?
$349.
So, what? And they're dropping it by 140?
Oh no, that's the new price. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
They're dropping it. They're dropping it to
2, 3.
Oh, hold on. I'll tell you what it is. And so let me just look at it quick. I had it on the. Actually, wrote it down.
But it was 500, wasn't it?
That's interesting.
Something like that. Sorry, it was something new that I picked up today.
Yeah,
Microsoft Surface RT 32 gig now $349.99.
Right.
Which is an expensive toy, really, when you think about it. It's a bit like a Mac, isn't it?
Well, but at least it's probably a little more usable for your average user than the Mac is, I would think.
Well,
It depends what you want to do.
Steve
isn't
was
it?
saying.
Say again?
Go ahead, Steve.
I was going to say, it's a bit like the Chromebooks, isn't it? If all you're going to be doing is going online and doing a bit of email and just some basic sort of laptop-y type tasks, predominantly online, then, yeah, I mean, I suppose it's fine for that. But if you want it to run any software that an average Windows user is going to use, what's the point in it? And it wouldn't even run Paint Shop Pro, for goodness sake. All it do is run apps, isn't it?
So you really cannot load programs into it.
Well, no, they can only load apps, as far as I understood it. When I looked at it, what a waste of time that is. It doesn't run. You can't install.
Office.
Yeah, Office, or you can't install anything else because it's not an 86 processor, is it? An x86. It's running an ARM processor,
Yeah,
so
ARM.
it's
That's
completely
right.
different.
Yeah, that was the limit. Yeah, that's right.
So unless it's written for ARM, which all of the x86 software that currently run on your PC won't run on it. So you have to download specifically written apps. This is why there was so much kerfuffle. This is another good word for you there, Bruce.
Oh, thank
kerfuffle.
you. Thank you. I love it.
This, why there was so much sort of fuss about it to start with, because nobody wanted to write any apps for it. That's why Microsoft were basically begging and paying people huge amounts of money to write apps for the RT.
How much are the iPads now? The cheapest iPad that's compared to that one, to the Surface.
The iPad Mini is about $399, isn't it? $349, $399.
But is it the same size screen?
No, that's a Mini. So it's
No,
like
I know. I'm talking about comparable to the Surface RT.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Andrews
Spend-
put the prices in chat.
Okay, so it's $399 for the iPad 2 and $349. So the new Surface is what you said, $349, Spence? So
yeah,
it's cheaper
yes,
than the iPad.
I'm reading here that it says that the RT will run Windows 8.1 when it comes out.
Yeah, but that's
it could
Windows
be-
8.1 RT. But this is what
Yeah,
always
it does
confused me to start with, is that they brought out Windows 8, which is all well and good, but then they brought out Windows 8 RT, which is completely different.
Yes.
Why did they even call it Windows 8? Why didn't they just call it Windows RT?
So they're going to, it says fixes will include new customization and updated version of Microsoft Office 2013 RT, which includes Outlook email client. So they are trying to fix it, but the article I was reading was kind of a warning to say things you need to know before you buy this low-cost RT. It runs. They said the first one is it runs RT.
Don't
And
expect it to
it's,
run anything you're already used to. Hey, Eiffel.
It's 2-year-old technology too. They're saying.
Well,
Yeah, I think the idea and principle behind it, I think, is brilliant. If only they'd have managed to do it for half that price. It looks like it's getting to be half that price eventually anyway, so just wait another couple of months and it'll be half the original price. Thank you,
said that
Microsoft.
RT does not include any accessories, so you got to buy the keyboard and covers. The keyboard covers $129.
Keyboard covers?
The keyboard cover. It's the cover. It's the cover that acts as a keyboard as well. It's $129. So you have to buy that separately.
Sheesh.
I'd be happy for Microsoft to send me one to try, and I'll evaluate it.
Yeah, I've got a door that keeps closing when I don't want it to. It'd be quite useful for that.
My daughter
Especially
just
with
bought
this
a
heat.
Galaxy Note 2, I think it is.
That's what Bruce has, isn't it?
Yes.
It's what?
That's what Bruce has, a Galaxy Note 2, isn't it?
She loves
Oh,
it,
you
and
keep
it's
her
got
up with
the
technology.
latest version, 4.1, plus the additional extensions that it just came out with. And she was showing me that just the versatility of this thing, being able to get to, for example, if you want to change settings, you don't have to leave what you're doing. You can just swipe across the screen. It opens up the settings while you're in the application. It does true multitasking side by side. It's a
And she can
processor.
actually-
And this is not the newest one.
And she can actually make it much better by changing the ROM on it, right, Bruce?
No, she doesn't want us. Warning, Will Robinson. You know,
Do not.
yeah.
Oh, this was you weren't here. Did you hear? The Nick and Bruce both went through some hell trying to update the phone with a different ROM, and Bruce thought that he bricked it.
Came close.
So you merely turned it into a 2x4. You didn't turn it into a brick.
So Eiffel, I was telling Eiffel that my CEO is in Paris this week. I don't know if you can see that picture, but there he is by the Eiffel Tower. So he and his wife are there enjoying some time away. They really deserve it.
By the Eiffel.
By the Eiffel.
Yep.
By the Eiffel with the iPhone picture. So, are you going to run out and buy this new Nokia phone with a 41 megapixel camera on the back?
Is that Lumia?
Yeah.
1020, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's amazing. I saw that and I remember saying, what size file is that? The pictures that it puts out.
You take one picture and it's like, sorry, memory is full.
What's that app that lets you post short videos, like up to
Vine.
8 seconds?
Vine is 6 seconds, and
6 seconds.
Instagrams is now what, 12 or 15?
So this phone is perfect for that because you'll use all the memory up for that 6-second video.
Yeah, there you go.
No, I'm really curious what size is each picture, because you know what's going to happen. Now Grandma is going to take a picture and attach it in email, and
Well, it's going to have to be manipulated. Obviously, it's going to have to.
a lot of
something's gonna
people
happen in
don't.
the
But a lot
background.
of people don't.
But I mean, some apps, if you upload a picture to your Facebook account from the Facebook app on your iPhone, it cuts
Right.
back on the quality of the picture automatically.
Yeah, right. Facebook takes care of that. But if you are if you're sending me a picture attached
That's
to
true.
an email, or something, or Dropbox or whatever, it's not going to
Didn't-
do anything to it.
Don't you think Microsoft would include that in their application automatically? They're looking out for you.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah,
good
Grandma-
question. I have
Grandma
no
was-
idea.
Send you the. So we'll have to send it to the Dropbox, Grandma, and she'll go, oh yeah, all right, I know I've done that. I had to do that before, And sorry if your Dropbox is now full. If you'd like to upgrade to a larger size Dropbox, please.
Yeah, and what does it do to caps?
Well, yes,
Maybe
it's all
this
well and
will-
good. It's the upload again, isn't it? It's going to take 3.5 hours to upload a photo.
Now,
So
what?
it comes with 32 gig,
Yeah.
but I wonder. I hope it has a memory card slot.
It does
so
got
you can
micro
expand
SD.
it. So maybe this will change the movie industry the way and television industry the way having those 1080p SLRs did for shooting video.
Now, I'm
Now
not
they
big.
shoot entire movies on an SLR.
I'm not big, or I should say, I'm very small in taking pictures with my phone. And I don't even know what kind of megapixel is on this. But what was the point? What was the megapixel, standard megapixel before this?
There was the Lumina 928, and it had a 8.7 megapixel
So
camera.
they jumped from 8 point something to 40 point something.
Well, that's based on what I'm seeing on their webpage. They may have been other models.
I think there was something 12 megapixel.
The S4 has 13 megapixel camera
Yeah,
on the back,
but it's a big leap.
right?
And I don't know. I can see taking pictures like that if you want to blow a picture up and put it on a sign along the highway, But I mean, give me a break. What do you need 40 megapixels with a phone? What?
Because it's a bigger number, and bigger numbers are always better.
Well, it's just amazing. But it's the same with everything else, everything getting bloated. There are bigger hard drives, so let's fill them up faster. At least it's going to make the work of the NSA a little harder, because they're going to have to wade through huge files.
In
Right.
reorganizing my desk in my office over the last few weeks, I realized how many hard drives and external hard drives I have.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Well,
Not that that's a bad thing. It's just that I've been going and kind of inventorying not only the hardware, but the actual files themselves and what I'm actually saving. So,
the thing is, when you have external drives or internal drives and you upgrade, you keep those drives.
yes.
You don't throw them away. You don't give them to anybody. They don't take much space. And one of these days, you may come up and say, "Oh, I remember in 2001, I had a file that did such and such," and you can go to it if you're organized, and you can take that drive out and actually, Spence? Did you show me the dock for the hard drives?
Yes.
Yeah.
I have the.
And Nick got one of those too. It was like, I think he said it was like $20-some.
Oh, I think it was $40-something. It wasn't
Well-
bad, though. I'm sorry, covering up the brand name. Anchor. It's a brand name. And it's very basic, very simple, but it supports both eSATA and USB 3, which is nice. And USB 3 is faster than eSATA.
Yeah, and you can use it, something like this, and on the disk, and you just take a drive out, stick it in, and it works.
It's got a flap in it. Yeah, so it's a flap in it for putting in a 2.5-inch drive, so it orients it properly for you, and it flips out of the way when you put a 3.5-inch drive in the slot. So yeah, it's
Yes, so you don't need to get one of those enclosures.
no, but you
for-
do have to pay attention to the handling of
Yeah.
the drives.
Yeah, I mean,
So you've got to be aware that you should keep your drives in static bags. You should take care of them. Don't. These drives are not meant to be knocked around. They're meant to be sitting in a stable platform. And
Yeah. Bruce, do you have one of them?
No, I don't, but I'm interested. I would comment that I do have a number of Anchor products, batteries for my Note 2, battery charger for my Note 2. I'm actually got on their list of people that they would send stuff to test. So it's a good company.
Yeah, but this really allows you, I mean, to open an enclosure and replace a drive, or to get one of those cables that have multiple interfaces at the end. Yeah, it is see-through. I wonder, no, oh no, it's not see-through. It's mirroring. It's so shiny. It's mirroring what.
Oh, that's true. It isn't
Yeah,
see-through. I
it's
was going
not
to say
see-through,
this is
no.
the first truly transparent drive.
No.
No, it's mirroring the screen.
I've got
And
one
this
similar
actually
to
has
that.
a note on it that says flaky.
Well, what did you say, Steve?
I said I've got one similar to that. That on the back, it's got two slots and two on-off switches, so you can actually stick two drives in it. One is an eSATA connector on the back, and the other one's just a standard SATA. So I just got an eSATA to SATA cable sort of stuck in through the back of the machine through a vacant slot on a long cable. So I don't have my drives inside the machine. They're actually outside the machine, so it keeps it cooler inside.
Yeah. You just, I mean, when you're technical, it's okay, but, for your average user, that's not the way to do it.
No, you really want it in a case, ideally, if you can. There's
Right.
plenty of USB 3 cases. If you've got USB 3 now, you can pick them up for $15. They're pretty cheap. I have got a USB 3 to SATA connector. I've got a separate power supply that will run a SATA drive anyway. I think most people have got a little brick that will power up the old style Molex connector, and I've just put an adapter on that. And that then allows me to plug any drive into a USB 3 socket. But that's a tiny little thing. That's just like a little adapter for a USB. It's minute. I'm just trying to find a picture of it. But always adapting from one type to the newest type is always handy to have, especially if you've got lots of old bits of kit laying around.
As far as IDE, I don't think you're going to find one of these things because IDEs are not hot swappable.
But they do make docks, but like you said, they have to. They're not hot swappable, but they do
Right.
make docks that have IDE.
They're going to be I would think, a lot more expensive because they have to
You
be
have to.
a lot.
Well, no, actually, I see one on eBay for $22.
Well, I mean, I would think that they have to be a lot more precise because of the type of interface.
Yeah.
You bent the pins big time.
You have to limit it to USB because then USB will let you do. You can disconnect the USB and reconnect it without having to reboot the machine and have access. If it's, I doubt you would have an IDE to eSATA.
I'm talking about the dock itself where you insert the drive.
Right.
With IDE, it's those 40 pins, and I'm sure if you put the drive, if you start inserting the drive in the dock that you have, it has some play. But the connector is not
Yes.
susceptible to anything. Nothing can happen to it. With
the
with
IDE connector is pins, and they're
Yeah.
not, and they're.
But so you have to be careful with that. I would for IDE, I would rather get one of the cable kits. It's a USB, and on the other end it has a card that has a SATA on one side on the top and IE on the other side, and IDE for portable drives, 2.5-inch on the other edge. And this you can actually see how you plug in. I use it a lot when customers bring their machine here. And you need to be careful how you plug IDE drives in, or you can be sitting there and straightening out pins. Not that it didn't happen to me. But
And of course, with
Look at this.
IDE,
do I?
I want to show you an image.
Wait,
here.
Steve, what did you say?
I say with IDE, you also need to take into account the master and slave configuration.
Yeah, you have to do
which you
that
don't-
too. That's correct.
You don't have to do that with SATA. Generally speaking, though, if
Right.
you've got an IDE to, say, USB connector or an adapter, you always need to make sure that the IDE drive is set to master, and then it should always work.
Yeah. Here's the picture. I see that, and I'm just wondering how tight that.
Yeah. Look at the power, the Molex
Yeah,
connector.
I
It's
see
actually
that.
a sliding connector. Look at that. Can you see there's a little slot right here?
Yeah.
Oh, you're not going to see it on that screen. I got to
I
do it
mean,
here.
what do you mean sliding?
Yeah, I can see it there.
This Molex connector slides. You can see there's a little notch in the bottom there. So this can actually move back and forth slightly.
It needs to, because you know how power connectors are.
Yes.
Well,
But
on
not,
those
not only
drives.
that, there was no set configuration for distance like there is on the SATA now. Everyone's agreed to have the power and the data
Yeah.
connectors identical on every drive. But you look at some of the older drives, especially from Western Digital, the power connector could be all over the place. It could be right on the edge, or it could be 3 or 4 millimeters in. I know when I bought my first computer that had a SATA on it, it also had, as far as the SATA power connector, it also had the old Molex connector on it as well. There was both types of power connector, which I thought was quite good. But then they were in the transition period between going from IDE to SATA, so luckily they put both on.
As far as IDEs, I mean, first of all, the IDE drives were small. 250 or I think 320 was the most.
That sounds about right.
And if you have a bunch of IDEs, I would say go and get yourself a terabyte or larger and put all those drives on one drive that you can hot swap.
Well, if you're archiving, there's no reason why you can't just stick it in a bag
True.
and put it on the shelf.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah.
But as something, if you're going to be, like in my case, with video editing and swapping drives around, SATA works really good for what I'm doing, because I have to, I'll store files on one drive, and might want to work on something and then work on something else for a while and
Yeah.
move back and forth.
The interesting thing is, a lot of those 3.5-inch enclosures, the external drives, not the portable drives, but the external drives that from we had for years, many of them fail, and what fails is the card, the interface between the drive and the SATA, because they're all SATA. And in many cases, they don't fail completely. They just sort of fail, enough not to read or to give you errors and things like that. But by changing and putting it on in another case, everything is okay. It'll be interesting to see how these docks are going to hold up. Maybe the power supplies and interface cards, which are cheap, really. I mean, when you think about it, they're really cheap. How they would do. And we have David Hartzog with us. Morning, David.
Good morning.
Your audio is a little low.
That's a shock.
Now it's coming up.
I just wanted to throw something in there.
Yeah.
You guys are talking about those external enclosures. Didn't you just say that if you bought an external that you, you have to pardon me. I'm just waking up and I'm not done with my first cup of coffee yet. If you buy the new external hard drives like the Western Digital MyBooks and things like that,
The little bitty things or the 3.5-inch?
either.
Yeah.
they've started to use proprietary connections on the hard drive, so you can't just take that drive out of that box and plug it directly into a computer with a normal SATA cable.
Really?
Yes.
I haven't taken apart one to see. I mean, the 2.5-inch had just a 2.5-inch, like a connector on a IDE or SATA, but I haven't seen anything proprietary, and that's interesting. But I haven't opened one lately.
Yeah.
Could it be they're using the server version of SATA?
I haven't
Funny.
opened one up yet, but I know that there was, in the past, it was kind of an underground thing where people would buy the external drives because they were generally cheaper than the bare drives.
Yeah, yeah.
And
the
they'd
stock was old. Yeah.
Yeah, they throw them in a laptop or a desktop and, save themselves $15-20. And the news floating around lately is that they're not fitting into the normal SATA connectors in laptops and desktops.
Interesting.
I'll see if I can find a picture of one of the connectors here. See what it is.
Funny you bring that up. Spence, you talking about the server. I just the PC that I'm using to do the show with VidBlaster has it's an HP 8600, and it's got oodles and oodles of drive connections, and many of them are SAS.
Yeah.
Which is a serial attached SATA. And it's, you were going to show something, Spence?
Oh, I was going to show, this is the server version, if you can focus. I'm not sure you can focus on it, but you notice the SATA connection has a bridge that goes across the between the data and the power. It doesn't have a notch. So this drive will fit a server, and a standard drive will fit a server, but you can't put this drive into a regular SATA connection.
Right, that's exactly...
The data is the same.
That is what the connectors on the SAS drives looks like, and
yes.
you have to get, and I bought 4 of them for this machine here, but they're SCSIs.
Yes, SCSI over serial.
Yeah, that's right. And then, and it looks like on the back, when you look at it, if you look sideways, it looks like a regular SATA connector. But you have to really look close to see, oh, it's not. And I was ready to put it in, and no, it would not connect. I said, why is it not connect? And then I looked, and I saw that. And those adapters, the drive that's in there has an adapter. It's an HP something. It's a little bitty adapter that goes on the back of it, and then it makes it SATA connection that you can just plug in a regular SATA. They're like upwards of $25 a piece.
And when I said the data was the same, I didn't mean, what I meant to say, I misspoke, was that a SATA drive will work in the server that accepts this serial, SCSI over serial. But the same is not true in the reverse.
Wait a second. I think it's the other way around.
No, I could take, this came out of an IBM server.
Yeah.
If I plug in a standard SATA drive into that server, it'll work. But I can't take this drive and plug it into a machine that only accepts SATA.
Right, because it's a SAS drive.
Because this is a SAS drive.
How big is it?
This is a 73 gig.
Yeah, they make them 73, 146, and then there's some newer ones that are 500 and so forth.
Very expensive.
On this machine here, I think there are 16 SATA connections, but I think 8 of them are SAS and the other ones are SATA. And they tell you that you can plug a SAS drive into the SATA ports, but you cannot plug in a SATA drive into the SAS port. So you can have 16 SAS drives, but you can only have so many SATA in it. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, I
That you
need to
can-
test it with the server that I have only has 2 bays.
Yeah.
So I need to go back. I believe it will accept the SATA drive, but on the newer ones that have 8 bays, 10 bays,
Yeah.
but most servers now have switched to 2.5 drives.
For,
These
for-
big servers now, single U, 2U servers
Yeah.
are the way they get so many drives. It's a bunch of
Which
2U,
makes sense.
2.5-inch drives.
for some reason, I'm hearing my mom say, "Don't you sass me."
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry, guys. My Google Foo is lacking this morning. I can't find a picture.
Google
The
Food?
actual- Google Foo.
Anybody that doesn't know, I mean, Dave Hartsock is the owner of Dave's Computer Tips. And hey Nick, wait a second, let me answer him. Hey Nick. Morning,
Hey,
Nick.
I'm not.
If you want, you can call
Can you guys hear me?
Computers 2K now because Mike is not going to be here. So feel free to. It's up to you. Dave's ComputerTips.com. And great tips, great website, great tips, a lot of good information that you can learn a lot from. And I've enjoyed exploring your site, and I was going to use some of the stories from the latest newsletter and today's, but you couldn't read more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can click on the link to the title of the
Yeah.
excerpt.
So, Adnan, I find this interesting story about, and it's got a graphic on it. Where are U.S. adults using smartphones? And I don't know how well this graphic shows up on the video. I'll just put it up there for a moment. But
Tell us.
I'll put the link in the chat, and I'll go back to it. But it's interesting. 19% use their smartphones in church or place of worship. Now, a lot of people are doing that now with this program called YouVersion, which, by the way, last week surpassed 100 million installs. If you're into any kind of a Bible app for your smartphone, I highly recommend YouVersion. 12%.
Wait. You'd like to think that that's what they're doing in church.
Well, I mean, our pastors put their outlines on YouVersion Live, so you can actually follow their outline there.
Okay.
12% use it in the shower, 55% while driving, 32% at a child's school function, obviously taking pictures and videos, 33% on a dinner date, which I would not recommend.
Unless you want to kill it.
Right, 35% in a movie theater, and 9% during sex. I mean, at least
9%.
at least 10% more people use it in a place of worship than use it during sex. Anyway, it's an interesting article.
Interesting. Yeah, that is
Yeah.
interesting.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, here's a case in point. I'm going to be playing in a worship band later this evening, and we use an app called Planning Center Online, and it's a really great app. So I can go down here to Celebrate Recovery, tap on that, and you can see in the green that I'm confirmed for acoustic guitar for the band. And I can go down here, and I can go to the media player, and I can play. These are the songs, and I can practice with them. I can go to another song and play it. But it's amazing the technology that's being used in church and worship venues today.
Somebody on the chat is asking, Dave, are you on the chat?
Yes.
Somebody was asking if you support Linux.
Through the
on
site?
on the website? Yeah.
Not exactly. We touch on it every now and then, but it's kind of hard to find somebody that that knows enough about Linux and is willing to write about it and support the users.
Right.
I myself have enough experience to get myself in trouble.
So Uncle
I-
Guy, no, not in a big way.
I would love to, though. It's it's growing, and there's quite a large user base out there.
That's always been one of the nice things with Linux, though, or Linux, isn't it? Because the support communities and the various different forums and places you can go to get help is phenomenal.
Yep.
Well, they don't have a choice, really. There's
Well,
no,
no.
No
I think
real-
it's always had that kind of sort of geeky feel to it, Linux, hasn't it? It's I mean, Ubuntu has made inroads into bringing it out to the majority of users to make it feel and look as much like Windows, and people feel comfortable with it, so they don't have to go to they have a nice GUI and everything else, but it still is very much a geeky thing that you do need to know a lot about computers and coding in order to get done what you need done. If you're just an average user that just wants to get online and do the basics, then I think Linux would be fine. But for the average person, say like us, who are into doing all sorts of things and helping people out, it's a little bit of a great big learning curve that you need to go through.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which most people don't have the time or the inclination to do it. It's like things are changing so much in the PC and Windows world as it is, trying to keep up with that, as well as trying to keep up with things that are happening in Linux. No, there's just not enough hours in the day.
Very true.
Why is this? Apps are the devil's tools. Why? I mean, I don't understand that comment in the.
I think that was just a tongue-in-cheek
okay.
comment. Yeah.
I think on the subject of apps that
Yep.
it's good, and there is some potential risk there, because some of the things that took thought to do now can be done very simply using an app, like math and other things that we may rely on apps too much in the future and not teach people how to critically think. But it's my opinion.
Well, I mean,
I use apps all the time. I mean, I love something that makes something easy to do, but I still have more fun when I'm doing a project, working in the woodworking or whatever. Like, I still want to draw it out on a piece of paper myself. And
you mean you did not interface your phone to your radio arm saw yet?
no.
Oh,
Although, did you see? I was looking at a story about how somebody put a Raspberry Pi processor into a microwave.
to do what?
Whatever.
To cook it?
control it. Cook. I don't know. But just to say, oh, I'm putting in something.
Maybe they thought a real Raspberry Pi would come out.
Actually, that was part of the story, was that cook a Raspberry Pi using your Raspberry Pi microwave.
Well,
Doesn't taste like
let me
grandma
mention-
used to bake.
What did you say,
There's a-
Steve? Wait a second,
Yeah.
Bruce. Steve, what did you say?
Doesn't taste like the Raspberry Pi that grandma used to bake.
No, it does not.
It's a little too tart.
What is it, Bruce?
I got a lot of things on my mind, and one of the things I would mention in regards to social media, just a thought that comes to my mind is that, and I'm spinning off of Spencer's comment about working in the wood shop and stuff like that. We all have a certain amount of margin, emotional, intellectual energy to give to relationships. The most important relationships are with our spouse, our children, our grandchildren, our extended family, aunts, uncles, nephews, cousins, co-workers, classmates in school. But I wonder if one of the downsides of social media is now that that circle has grown so much larger. Some would contend, I'm postulating this as a thought, larger than it should be, or we're wired with a capability for. I wonder what kind of price is being paid in each of us in trying to maintain these relationships. I'm not wanting to go back to Little House on the Prairie days where you just had your little village and stuff like that. But if you just think about what's happened in the margin that we have to give to relationships over the last 25 years, it is remarkably exponentially bigger than ever. And I would think that there has to be a price to be paid for that.
It's just like you said, Bruce, I agree. And you look at call centers and customer service now where they would prefer that you chat with them or post. It saves them money by not having a real person. So what's happening with communication skills? You see kids in the same room texting each other instead of talking. It's just, I think we'll get over it, but at the same time, I think it's going to fundamentally change society. Could actually change the way we think.
Yeah. Well, the other side of that is then perhaps the technology that created the potential for all this stretch is also providing opportunities to deal with it and manage it. I don't know, but it's interesting to think about.
I think it's good if people know when to turn it off, but I think that's one of the problems with the technology is that people don't know when to turn it off.
Right.
Yeah. And they don't know when to take a break from it. I listened to a great rant by Dave Ramsey, who was one of my favorite authors and advisors when it comes to all things financial. But he was talking about how, he talked about how successful people read and read a lot. And they don't sit in front of the television a lot. That people who are, taking control of their lives and are in control of their destiny and don't have the victim mentality are people who read and devour information and want to always be learning. Whereas people who are more satisfied with their, it's down to motivation. That if you sit and let things just be delivered to you with little effort, that you don't learn how to forage for yourself.
Right.
So if technology was turned off, if we ever had that day that the science fiction writers predict when we have a giant EMP pulse that just basically takes everything out, there's been several TV shows based on the end of technology. We're going to have a bunch of people who are going to die very quickly because they don't know what to do. And so
let's see who just called in.
Guy Cook, Uncle Guy.
Hey, Uncle Guy.
What's up?
Not much. You got a question?
I was calling to comment a little bit about what Bruce was saying about social media and engagement and how it's segmenting. I found in doing some recent lookups on a product called Share This, where you can share links, you can share media. I found a great recipe. I'm going to share it with Bruce because he's in my circle on Google Plus, perhaps, or he's in my Facebook community. Well, now I'm finding that they've taken it to the next level and that they're segmenting out like the financial people that are top business and financial blogsphere links, and they're only dealing with management of money. They now have their own community, fwisp.com. And it's really, really interesting to pick and consider now that when you're trying to build a campaign for someone's efforts with their web project, is Facebook the answer, or is it such a big umbrella you're getting so many non-interested people because that's not their cup of tea, if you will, that you're not really focused and targeting your select demographic? Okay, there was a time when it was boys or girls. So if it was girls, then you had to go to Twitter and just ignore the fact that 40% of those were guys. So you just targeted the women and you sold your cosmetics and life was good. But how do you make it better? Well, you'll seek these communities that are devoted just to that mentality. They only like that brand of product that you're selling. Like I have a friend in Canada that sells Avon products. So if she only wants to reach that niche, I'm thinking now that you can go out and seek and search and find that channel, if you will, on the big internet dial and only talk to that group. I think that social has more facets to the gym than just Facebook and Twitter and Google Plus, as we've been kind of inspired to believe by those big principal innovators in that industry.
I agree.
Yeah. Hey,
Sorry
Guy.
to be so long-winded.
No, thanks for calling in. That's an excellent point you made. You introduced me to something. I wonder if maybe you'd share it with our listeners. A service, an extension on Google Chrome called Mask Me. I have found that very interesting, and you mentioned to me last week that you have updated to Mask Me Pro. Could you share a little bit about Mask Me and how it works and why we both like it?
Well, it has to do with security and how much information you want to share. And I'll use the New York Times as an example. I signed up for a subscription on the New York Times. And this Mask Me product I was made aware of. How do I give them an email alias? Do I have to go into my mail server and create New York Times at GuyRcook.com, or can I just do it with a little click, something easier, make it convenient? Because, Lord knows I need as much minutes in the day as I can. So I searched and found this Mask Me product. And what it does is it gives you a space in the cloud where you can store and configure your logins. Like, say I want to have a unique login for computerstoknow.com. And I don't want computerstoknow.com to know what my Gmail address is or my main server address is. I can say, okay, Mask Me. The Mask Me software will create gobbledygook at gobbledygook.com, which is a forward email address. It'll go to my true real email address. So Bruce, as much as I trust you and like you, I don't want you to have my email address. Okay? So you can use that one. I can log in and authenticate, and you'll never have my address. So for all of these sign up to download this software white paper, all of these try this out, you can use the Mask Me product. Now, the reason that I went to the pro level, which is only $5 a month, so that I can have it on multiple devices. That means I can have it on my Droid smartphone, which is the Samsung Galaxy Note 2. A little shameless plug for Bruce. He kind of encouraged me to get that. The tablet, both computers, the Linux computer, anything with a browser, and I can use the Mask Me. So on 5 devices, it's costing me $1 a month per device. Mm-hmm. Now, the things I don't do with it they're made available is you can also mask credit card information, too scary for me, and phone numbers. I don't want to mask a phone number. If I'm giving somebody a phone number, I don't want to put a hurdle in the way of them spreading the word.
Hey, let me
product.
Yeah, let me just show a demo. I've got this on my screen, guys. So I was just thinking of a site I could demonstrate this. So this is radioreference.com. I was listening to some scanners and stuff like that. So I'm setting up an account, and you see when it comes down to the email, it gives me this drop down, mask my email or use my email. If I click mask my email, it automatically creates this gobbledygook thing that you talked about.
And let's say, for the sake of a login, you're doing this on your phone, on your Galaxy Note 2, you're signing up.
Right.
And then you get back from your road trip to Florida, you go to your office there at home and you log in. You can log in to Mask Me and get those same credentials from that cloud by paying that $5 fee.
Right.
Go ahead and finish.
No, you have a question, man.
No, it's not. It's not a question.
Take a breath. I get too long-winded.
It's not. It's not a question. It's something to do. I mentioned it before on the show. Being an ISP, try and send yourself, and it's more practical because you can see where it comes from. But try and send yourself an email by putting your the first part before the @ in your email program.
I call that the username.
The username, and put a hyphen and whatever you want after that, at whatever it is. See if you get it back. If it's not working with the hyphen, try underscore, because it works on everybody that I told to. It works. So okay. I would use, if I go to AT&T for anything to order something, and they ask you for an email address, on the fly, I'll just put amnon-att@deltaforce.net.
Okay.
If any site...
Where do you store that information?
I don't
so
store...
You know
there's
that
no...
amnon.att is the username to use.
There is no such thing as a username. It is it's not even an alias. It is an alias, but it's not an alias that is stored anywhere, because the email...
okay.
The email will come to you, to the user ID at that domain name. But when it circulates the internet, it has that extra information in there. And if AT&T sold their list and I start getting spam from Amnon-AT&T at Delta Force, I know who did it. So each site that I go to, if they ask for an email, I would put Amnon- and the site name.
Yeah.
And you don't need
Go
ahead.
A long time ago, when I owned part of an ISP, we had a thing with email SMTP authentication.
Yeah.
And what we did was use amnon.domain.com as the SMTP authentication instead of amnon@domain.com, which everyone would expect and anticipate to be the configuration because that's the industry standard, right?
Right.
So by using that, when they set up their Outlook or their Thunderbird to do the authentication back to our server would see @ and they go, well, he's not playing by the rules. It's obviously not him.
Good point, yeah.
So there's a lot of electric fences that you can put in place. One of the things that I do is I do server management now for companies, and one of the things is blacklisted IP addresses that I'm working on. I put that in chat a minute ago. It's interesting to note that at the IP-tracker.org blacklist check, the top 3 blacklisted IP addresses based on suspicious activity are US of A.
Mm-hmm.
And, in days gone by, it's been, the usual suspects. It's been from the Eastern Europe, or it's been China and so forth. So I think that what we're talking about here and protecting your personal information is in part due to the identity theft crisis that's going on in the country, where there's so many companies set up now to protect your ID. And MaskMe is just one wrench in that toolbox that's quite user-friendly to use. Once you set it up in Chrome browser, it's easy as cake to do.
Yeah, I'll take a look at that, because that's a step above what I was talking about.
Yeah. When you get to the level of how much good traffic are you getting from specific parts of the world, you can block all of the IP ranges that are in China.
Right.
Any host that ends with .cn or anything that ends with .ru. And so the server load, which is how much miles to the gallon are you getting out of the server performance. Once I blocked China and blocked Russia on this one host, the performance increased enough to pat myself on the back and say, well, that was a darn good idea.
Yep. No, absolutely. I'm with you on that. We need to talk because I've got some other ideas
Yeah.
that we implemented here, and it seems like we're thinking along the same line.
No, you're using Apache. Then. Is that your data center behind you, or is that a green screen?
Oh, you're
which
talking
it
about
was?
this right here?
Uh-huh.
Let me adjust something. No, it's a green screen.
Okay.
No, but I don't use Apache. We use Nginx.
Oh, okay.
But as far as the email server, I mean, there is a lot more that you can do for people that we developed over the years, ideas,
Oh, yeah.
and you
That's
can implement.
like reverse lookup. Good example. The
Yep.
mail server. You say mail servers, and the first word that pops in my brain is those dang spammers.
Yep.
And so we set back in 2001, in yestercentury, internet years, about 100 years ago. We set up the mail server to do. If it doesn't reverse look up correctly, the mail doesn't go through. The phone lit up like a sweepstakes contest at the top 40 radio station.
Right.
Everybody's going, I can't send mail. What's going on? I mean, we're getting calls from the county government.
Right.
Everywhere. They're freaking out. I said,
Yep.
well, your mail server's not set up right. When it says our IP address is blah, 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 it's not reporting that back to the guy that's
Right.
processing it here, so we figure it's a fake. None
Yeah.
of the remote offices for the county had their mail servers set up correctly.
Do they now?
Well, I don't work there anymore. I can't say.
Yeah,
Probably not
I'll
a
bet
good
you they're
thing to
not.
report.
I mean, we did the same
No,
thing. and-
reverse lookup is something that's just, on paper, it looks like a great theory. Implementation, globally, not going to happen.
No. It will only happen one way, and I keep on mentioning it, is if Google will say, okay, we're not accepting anymore. Or if Microsoft says, okay, that's it. We don't accept any more from unauthenticated reverse. If we cannot do the reverse, we can't do it.
Right.
Then everybody will configure their mail servers, and you know what? That will probably cut 99% of spam off. Because at that point,
Well, if you want to cut out spam, charge them 1/10 of a cent per message.
Yeah, but
and
that
spam
won't-
will go away.
right, but that's definitely not going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, we no longer we blacklisted China, big chunk of Russia, except where we have customers. So you are
Yeah,
really
you can make an allow list so your customers aren't blocked, right?
Yep. So there are
Southern
ways.
California is there was a host that had about 2 million IP addresses total, and a friend of mine in New Orleans helped me count up this and set up all the /19s and so forth that we had to do to block those ranges. And they're based in California, but they're owned by people in Beijing, China.
Mm-hmm.
How they can afford that many IP addresses, I don't know. We just kind of threw our hands up and said, "Well, we're not supposed to know how that works," because I couldn't imagine it. But anyway, I've gotten long-winded as I oftentimes do. Great show, enjoy listening, and I'll back out of here and quit gabbing so much.
Great comments. Thanks for calling in, guy.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Yeah.
Spence. Oh,
He went to the outhouse. You can see the cabin, but the outhouse.
I'm wondering if he's got special. I'm sure he does.
Oh yeah.
So I have a Windows issue.
Uh-oh.
Is there such a thing?
No, there's such a thing. I just found out that I'm having an issue with Windows updates. Every single night, I've got about 100 or so updates to do, and every single morning the updates fail. So do you think the best action is to just manually do them one by one until I find the one that fails?
Well,
Have you
I
tried
found
to do one at a time,
I haven't tried
go
one
ahead.
at a time yet.
just to see if that's the issue, if it's a single update or a problem with the whole rigmarole.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's probably just one of the updates. But I guess I'll try that tonight.
You need to do it manually.
Where do you go to do that manually? I don't think I've ever manually. But just the Windows updater inside.
Yeah,
of...
just go to Windows Updates and it'll say there are so many, and you say go ahead and do it and watch it and see which one it is that's failing, and hide it.
Okay.
It will report back the one that failed.
Where will
At
it
least-
report that? Let's see. View update history. Oh, they're all failing.
Okay.
Well,
You got-
see which one is the first one.
Security update. Yeah. So
No,
I'm assuming that the
Got-
one is failing, causing everything else to fail.
Yeah. Uncle Guy is saying what version of Windows? It's 7, right?
Yeah, Windows 7 Home
Yeah.
Premium, 64-bit.
Hi, Nick.
Hello.
Nick. Yeah, it's Steve. I've had a similar problem with my updates. Sometimes when it gets to be, I don't know, say over 10 or something, it refuses to get any of them. So what I've very often done is I've usually leave. I just select, like 5 at once, let those update, then check another 5 and let those update. It seems to be when you get a lot that it just won't even start, or it tries to start and it doesn't go through them. But if you just select a few each time, it'll go through. The .NET stuff I found has been the biggest problem. Whenever there's anything .NET, what I do is I'll just tag 5, but don't do anything to do with .NET, and I leave them till the last. Because
funny,
very often they'll take
first-
ages.
Yeah, the first thing that failed was a security update for .NET.
Yeah,
So-
I would normally just uncheck all the things to do with .NET and just try and do 5 to 10 at once, but nothing's .NET, and leave that until the end. Because I've found with mine, sometimes the computer sits there for over an hour trying to download and finish install the .NET stuff. At least that way you'll get everything else that's not .NET that could be crucial as far as the security update goes.
It's like every night I turn off the computer and it's on for about an hour and a half, installing all the updates, and then in the morning when I turn it back on,
Fail.
they fail right away.
Just disable the .NET. That way you'll get all the security stuff, and then just do, if you have to, do the .NETs one at a time.
Okay.
It's a bit laborious, but it does work. It does work for me anyway.
And it will
I was
also.
out of town this week, and there were 25 updates that came out for Windows 7. And so last night, when I shut down my PC, it went through all 25 without any problems. And then when I woke up this morning, there were 3 additional ones that likewise installed okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I turned my automatic updates off, and I don't think I'm going to do any more updates until that VidBlaster problem is fixed.
I don't let mine do it automatically. I let it inform me, but then I choose to download, and I do it at a time that's convenient to me. And invariably, when I look, I always check to see what it is. Invariably, it's just a malware thing update. But when it is a Patch Tuesday,
Amnon, I found an interesting Twitter account last night.
Really?
Yes, it is a non-fan of VidBlaster.
I think I saw somebody following me.
Let's see.
Following
I'll post
computers
it.
to kind of something about sucks.
Yeah, it's their Twitter handle is @VidBlasterSucks.
Wow. I think it's going to take off. I mean, how old
know.
is it? Do you know? Can
it
you
appears
tell?
it appears to be pretty new. They've only got 8 followers.
Wow.
So,
Interesting.
yeah. Very interesting.
Yeah, it's really. I mean, we were talking about it earlier. It's how the Windows update broke VidBlaster, and nothing else. So it seems like it would be a VidBlaster problem, obviously.
Now, I remember, Emma, you were going through one by one and trying to find which update it was. Did you end up finding what
No.
update was causing it?
Nope. It's after I went and I sorted all the updates by date and went from the top to the bottom on the list. And when I uninstalled the very last one, that's when it fixed it. So I don't know if I would start the other way around, if it would fix it right away with the first one, or really it had to take the whole series out. I have no idea.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, but it's okay. It's working.
That's good.
And I figured, what's the big deal? So I don't have the Windows updates. It's fine. It is fine. Where's Spence? 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 I don't see anything moving in the shack, so he's not in there, is he? He's not doing anything in there.
I heard that somebody had taken the Sears catalog out of the outhouse, so he's having holler at somebody to bring in the Spiegel catalog. You remember You remember those? The Spiegel catalog and the Sears Roebuck catalog. J.C. Penney had catalogs.
Yeah.
Yeah, those were the days.
Yeah.
You'll have to explain, Bruce. I don't understand. No, I'm kidding.
I remember when I was a kid, Christmas time, these catalogs would come out and, we'd go through them and we'd mark with markers, our wish list. And then, of course, there was the green value, the green stamps and the true value stamps. They had catalogs as well. And, moms used to get stamps when they'd go to the grocery store, and they'd use those to purchase gifts a lot of times for Christmas. And interesting.
We all use Skype, and now with all the NSA stuff, a lot of people are beginning to use PGP for their email. First of all, I read an article that says that if you're using encrypted mail, you're setting yourself up to be really looked at by the NSA. But here's an article that goes, Microsoft helped the NSA to circumvent its encryption to address concerns that the agency would be unable to intercept web chats on the new Outlook.com portal. The agency already had pre-encryption stage access to email on Outlook.com, including Hotmail. The company worked with the FBI this year to allow the NSA easier access via Prism to its cloud storage service SkyDrive, which now has more than 250 million users worldwide. Microsoft also worked with the FBI Data Intercept Unit to, quote-unquote, understand potential issues with a feature in Outlook.com that allows users to create email aliases. Skype, which was bought by Microsoft in October 2011, worked with intelligence agencies last year to allow Prism to collect video of conversations as well as audio. Everybody smile. Material collected through Prism is routinely shared with the FBI and CIA, with one NSA document describing the program as a team sport. So, yeah, smile, everybody. Spence, do we have specials? that was a
Said
good
to smile. Yes, we do.
Are you ready to do specials?
Yes, give me one moment. I had to turn the fan down so the page doesn't blow away here.
Oh.
Okay, let me get to the newsroom here. All right. I would be something came up today during the specials that I thought might be worth a discussion after, to talk about people's experience with Office 365 and what people thought of it. And there are apparently different versions of it out there. There's a home and office, home version, home and student. There's an office version. There's a university version, which I was not aware of, which is where there is some devices that actually come with a 1-year subscription for 2 devices to the university version. So we can, if you want to talk about it afterwards, it'd be good. Okay. So luckily today I had all 5 or 6 of the usual retailers all show up in my newspaper, which made it a lot easier for me to gather information. Starting with Office Max, they've got a good deal on a desktop, HP AMD A6 processor, 8 gig of memory, 1 terabyte drive, $389. That's $100 off. And when I say $389, if I say 9 at the end, imply that it's 99. So it's really $390. But people can do the rounding in their heads. Dell 15.6-inch i3 touchscreen laptop, 4 gig of memory, 500 gig hard drive, $429. That's $120 off. They've got the Aspen brand 7-inch Android 4.0 tablet, $69, save $30. 32 gig flash drive for $24.99, save $25. We're actually starting to get into the back to school sales, believe it or not. AOC 20-inch LED LCD monitor, $89, 20 off. 22-inch LED monitor for $109. That's 20 off. They've got an Acer 15.6-inch i3 touchscreen laptop, 4 gig of memory, 500 gig hard drive, $499, save $130. And it comes with, this is what I mentioned earlier, Office 365 University Edition, 2 devices for 1 year. You can actually buy Office 365 Home Premium for 5 devices for $79.99 for 1 year subscription. That's $20 off the regular price. They've got an HP LaserJet Pro wireless with smartphone printing for $129.99. That's $30 off. They've got a Brother laser printer scanner copier with networking and automatic duplex printing, $129. That's save $50. And finally, Western Digital 1 terabyte USB 3.0 portable hard drive for $69.99. That's save $20. That's all at Office Max. At Staples, we've got HP DeskJet 3510 wireless all-in-one printer, copier, scanner, $59. That's save $20. Acer 15.6-inch i3 touchscreen laptop, 6 gig of memory, 500 gig hard drive for $499. That's save $250. This is a clearance item. Microsoft 2000 wireless keyboard and mouse combo for $29.99. That's $20 off. They've got the Western Digital MyBook USB 3.0 desktop hard drive. The 2 terabyte version is $99, save $10. The 3 terabyte version is $129, save $10. They've got the Logitech illuminated keyboard. This is a USB Connect keyboard, $59.99, save $20. And they've got Chromebooks starting at $249. That's all at Staples. H.H. Gregg has a couple of noteworthy items. 8 gig flash drive for $599. 7-inch Android 4.0 tablet for $69.99. And something called the Nobi 8 gig 7-inch Android tablet for kids. This is $179. This has got a special version of Android with parental controls and lockdown, so they can't just download apps. And it's got kid-friendly applications built in. H.H. Gregg. Tiger Direct Store, 16 gig Asus 7-inch Mimo Android tablet, version 4.1, ice cream sandwich for $129.99, or is that Jelly Bean 4.1? Don't remember. Netgear, refurbished products. They've got a USB wireless N adapter for $14.99, an N300 router for $19.99, and a Powerline network adapter. This is a two plug-in adapters with Ethernet for $19.99. Kingston USB drives, 8 gig for $5.99, 16 gig for $8.99, and 32 gig for $17.99. Samsung 19-inch LED HD TV. We're starting to get into the back-to-school stuff, $149.99. Good combo because you can use it both as a television as a monitor, so in a dorm room. 20-inch Acer LED monitor for $99. 22-inch AOC monitor for $109. Asus 23-inch for $159. They've got CyberPower battery backup UPS units on sale. 1,000 VA for $99, 1,500 VA for $149. That's all at Tiger Direct. At Office Depot, They've got a 7-inch Samsung Galaxy. I can't read my own. Galaxy Tab. That's it. Galaxy Tab. It is the 8 gig version, Tab 3, for $199. Lenovo 13.3-inch i5 IdeaPad Ultrabook touchscreen laptop, 4 gig of memory, 500 gig hard drive with 24 gig of solid state, so it's a hybrid drive, $549.99. They have a Targus laptop charger with USB fast charger port, so that's a high wattage USB port on it, so you can simultaneously charge the laptop and charge your USB device for $49, save $20. They have an HP AMD A10 quad desktop, 12 gig of memory, 2 terabyte hard drive for $599, save $100. They've got a Brother wireless mono laser printer with automatic duplex printing for $109.99. They've got a Western Digital MacBook USB 3.0 desktop hard drive with password and hardware encryption, 2 terabyte version for $99.20. That's at Office Depot. And finally, at Best Buy, we talked about this earlier, they've got the Microsoft Surface RT 32 gig now, $349. That's $150 off the regular price. Touchscreen laptops from $399. 20-inch HP monitor for $89, save $30. Desktop starting at $279. Remember, that's with no monitor. Laptop starting from $279. They've got an HP 15.6-inch AMD A8 quad processor, 4 gig of memory, 500 gig hard drive for $379. And finally, HP Envy wireless 4500 inkjet printer with ePrint, automatic two-sided printing for $89.99. That's at Best Buy. So I was wondering if people had opinions on Office 365. I have not used it. I know people are looking at it, but just as a cloud subscription to the Office suite, do people feel it's worth to spend? Well, the home and student version, I think, was $79 for 5 devices to use. Might be a good way to, instead of installing it on multiple machines, to have the access to the same applications from 5 different devices. So just wondered what people thought.
I'm trying to figure out what that noise is coming from. Somebody has bad connection.
The NSA guy is getting up to change the tape.
Let's see who's calling. Good morning.
Oh, Ramnon. It's Mike in Fuquay.
Hey, Mike.
Got a question for you. I got a problem.
Yeah.
I haven't been able to figure it out. I've got a program that I've been using for a couple of years. I use it once a week. After I make some changes, it produces a one-page report that I print out. Yesterday, I tried to print, and I'm getting an error message. Last time I used it was last Saturday. The error message is RPC server is unavailable in a dialog box. And then I get a second box that says error enumerating printers. Now, number one, I have no problem printing from other applications. And number two, it happens with 2 different printers that I set up as default. And I did some searches online, and they all reference 3 services that should be turned on. I've checked under services, and they're all shown as automatic and started. And I've uninstalled this software and reinstalled it, and I still get the same problem.
Does the software have like a forum for that particular one?
I looked online. I didn't see anything that even resembled my problem. I haven't done, as a matter of fact, the first thing I did was to do use a restore point back to Tuesday.
Yeah.
The last restore point. That didn't fix it. I did a complete hard drive restore using a terabyte software back to last Sunday.
Wow.
That didn't fix it. While I was still on the July 7th backup, I looked for a restore point prior to the day that I last used the software, which is the 5th, so I did a restore point to the 5th, and that didn't fix it.
So you cannot print period from that software.
Correct. Now, if I go to print preview in that program or page setup, I get a different dialog box. It says the handle is invalid, and then it says failed to get required buffer size for printer device mode. So I can't even see a printer from that software.
All right, now there's a comment in the chat that says Windows Update hosted, but if you restored it from the
last. Let me mention one thing. Last Saturday, the 7th, I believe it was the last report I printed. Sunday, I did one update, Windows update.
Well, the updates didn't.
Well, I can't uninstall that. That's the only thing that I did. I tried to uninstall that Windows update.
Why can't you?
Because it's not listed as an install and uninstallable update. If I go on their update site and look at history, it says, yes, you installed it. But if I go to the list of installed updates,
right,
it's not listed.
It has to be.
It's not.
Did you sort them and find out?
Yeah, I sorted them. I looked through line by line. It's not listed as uninstallable.
Interesting.
It's a security update for Visual Basic something.
Did you try to search on that particular update?
No, I didn't do any search other than to go on Microsoft's site to see what the update was.
Yeah, I would search. But the thing is, if you went back to the 5th.
I went back to my hard drive backup, which was the last Sunday. And that was immediately after I did the one security update. So I was able to go back to Sunday, and from that point, I did a restore point back 2 days prior. That's as far as I could go with that. I did notice I did a Google search on the error. One guy suggested going into MS config, and the problem would be on the boot tab that normal boot up was not selected. And in my case, that was true.
No, if anytime you go and you stop any programs from loading, it goes away from normal boot up.
Okay, well, I put back to normal boot up and rebooted and didn't cure my problem.
Steve is saying you try a different cable, but Steve, everything works for all the other programs.
I tried two other programs, Word and a simple word processor, and they both print fine. And I tried two different printers, and it happens with two different printers. It's
interesting.
It seems to me it's the program that's got a problem, but I can't figure out what to do about it.
I'm stumped.
You have no idea what this RPC server is that would affect one program?
Is it a network printer?
No, it's a local printer. USB printers.
You said there was a Visual Basic update?
Yeah, I did a one update. It was number 2538243.
Just hazarding a guess here, but is it possible that the program is an older program?
Well, it's not the current version. It's like one series or maybe 2 series before. Like I said, I uninstalled it and completely reinstalled it.
My guess is the Visual Basic update changed something about Visual Basic that the old program doesn't support, or the old program uses some type of calls or something that are no longer supported in Visual Basic, and that update is what killed it for you.
Would that restore point that I used prior to that update, would that have gotten rid of the update?
Probably not.
It should, but obviously, I would. I mean, is this a bought software?
Yeah.
Can you call the company?
I don't have any kind of warranty anymore.
It doesn't
I've been
matter
using
about
it for a couple of years.
It doesn't matter about warranty. I mean, just to ask if somebody
Yeah, I
else
can do
had that
that.
problem.
I can do that.
Because
That's no problem.
they would know about other people that use that program, or if you know, do you know anybody else that uses this program?
No. It's like a program that keeps track of mutual funds called Fund Manager. I just update it once a week, and I print out a report on Saturday. Other than that, I never touch it.
I would continue to check on their forum, and I'm assuming that the forum is people that use the same software.
I would imagine, yeah. But like I said, I looked, and there was absolutely no mention of any.
Well,
I mean, it's been a week, so maybe nobody else has come across the problem.
Right, that's what I'm saying. That's why you need to keep on trying the forum, but it's obviously something. Gregory is saying, and I guess you're watching. He's saying uninstall it and find an alternative. That's
The problem is I've got 5 years worth of data invested in
Yeah.
it, and I don't know whether I can transfer.
right. Is it an expensive program?
Probably, I don't know, like $40 maybe.
And you're not going to upgrade it to the latest one?
That's the only thing I can think of doing.
Well,
is upgrade it, not knowing whether it's even going to work.
Right, exactly. You cannot download the trial and install it. Did you try to install it on another computer?
I have my wife's machine. I could probably install it on that.
Yeah, just to
Probably.
see.
Yeah, because she didn't. Her updates didn't include that Visual Basic update. I don't believe, because she's got a 32-bit version of Windows. Mine's 64-bit.
Yeah, that's whenever it's something like that, it's really hard to tell what. I still don't
I just thought
understand.
maybe you might have some idea of what this RPC server would have to do. Because everything I've looked at seems to indicate it's got to do with network printing. And like I said, these are local printers that I'm looking at.
Don't know, my man.
Okay, I was hoping maybe you'd have some idea what this was, but what I think I might do is take your suggestion and run the newer version on a trial and see if that fixes it.
People are asking, what's the name of the program?
It's called Fund Manager.
Fund Manager.
Right. I think it's by Bailey Incorporated, something like that.
Okay.
But, all right, let me give that a try.
All right.
Let you know what happens.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
That can be rough. 919-518-9773. Computers 2K voice on Skype. Anybody, Spence, anybody? Those fast chargers, like you were talking about, the high wattage.
Yeah.
If you have a USB charger for a phone, and it's let's say 500 milliamps, and you take one that is the same voltage, but it's 5 amps. Is that going to charge it faster?
Well, the only experience I can talk to is having a lot of different Apple chargers for different devices, from iPods to iPhones to iPads.
Yeah.
An iPhone charger is 4 watts. The iPad charger, the first iPad I think was 10 watts, and the next one was something higher than that, 14 watts. And I can charge my phone with the iPad charger, and it charges it really fast. It seems to work okay, but I'd be suspicious of the circuitry.
That's what that was the next question. Will it hurt the device if you go
It
higher?
doesn't seem to hurt the Apple products, but I do have some non-Apple chargers, like this Griffin charger, which is a aftermarket charger that is, I think it's 10 watts. And it advertises it as iPad capable, but will work with any Apple device. So apparently, it's got both the device and the charger have to have some circuitry in them, I would guess. I know there's some type of a handshake that goes on between Apple device.
Are you saying that all the Apple stuff show how many watts it puts out? I've never seen one that says how many watts.
Yeah, it says right on the device. It's very small print. But
it says how many amps, but I've never seen one with watts. That's interesting.
It actually says watts.
Hmm.
In fact, let me go ahead and look. Pardon me while I use my magnifying glass to look at this thing. It's pretty small. Output 5 volts, 2.1 amps. That's what this says. So I'd have to calculate.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying.
That's the Apple ones, and I can go get one. Actually, do say on it
how many watts?
What it is in watts.
Interesting.
Yep.
Yeah, well, they're friendlier.
Here's an iPhone charger right here. It's very small.
Yeah.
I mean, the print on it is so tiny that.
Right, it's not for us to read.
I actually put labels on the side of them to say what the wattage is, so I would know. Tell the difference, because like no way possible I can read it.
Oh.
Let's see. I know it's looking very strange.
What big eyes you got!
Boy, getting old. I tell you, you just have to.
Yes, but yeah, Bruce.
Spencer, you got a nose hair. That's.
That was Dave.
Shades of Sherlock.
That's it.
Clueless.
Have you watched any of the new Sherlock series? The one from the BBC and the one that's on CBS.
I love it. They're
both very well done. The British one is excellent. I mean, even the new, and it's the funny part is that Cumberbatch and Johnny Miller are both good friends, and they compare each other's performances. So here you got two friends both playing the same part in two different versions of the same character show, which is kind of fun.
So did they ever announce who the new Doctor Who is, Steve?
Who?
who the new Doctor Who person is going to be that's going to take over from the current actor?
I have no idea. There's a lot of speculation going on, but I don't really keep up to date with the news, to be honest. There's a couple of talk shows I saw, and they were trying to get out of him if he knew. And, you know, because obviously he's been doing the circuit now saying everyone's interested to think, oh my goodness, you're giving that up. We want all the detail and all the gossip about it. And of course, he's under contract. He's not allowed to let any information out. So it's a bit like the Stig on Top Gear. Nobody knows.
I love the Stig.
Yeah,
could it be Tom
Top Gear's
Cruise?
Brilliant. I really don't know who it's going to be. I couldn't even guess, to be honest.
And that's Bruce. You raise a good point on Top Gear. How does that show continue to be so good? You think about a show that's been on that long that manages to stay fresh and interesting and funny over all those years, and still do such a good job. make it interesting. And hats off to those guys. Whoever produces the show, I realized there was some criticism because they were saying that people found out that a lot of the stunt driving or the driving that they see isn't necessarily the stars of the show driving the cars. And they criticized them to say, well, first of all, they were never really making it. Yet they did come off as being, yes, that they were driving. But you obviously have scenes of them driving. They're in the car. But they said, well, the demands of the show and the production and all that require that they have people stand in drivers for certain scenes that they shoot. I don't care.
I know how they managed to keep it like that.
I do it too. If I don't agree with you, I'll speak up afterwards.
It's British.
No, it's not. It's the chemistry. I think that's what does it. The chemistry between the people that are presenting and the character that they have, yes, is typically eccentric British. I mean, look at James May. He's typically British, posh, above sort of middle class, whereas the little guy, Hammond, he's, like from the housing estate down the road, went to sort of public school and stuff, and Jeremy is a loudmouth, opinionated, oik. But he's likable, because he is honest. He sort of says what he feels, doesn't really care if he upsets anybody. And I think that's, it is the chemistry and the format. They're not trying to prove something or do something that the other shows are doing. They do it because they enjoy it. They pick fun at each other. They know each other's weaknesses. And that's, I think, what why it gets across so well is... You could almost equate it to a degree, if you like, to what we do here. I mean, we've all got our own little intricacies and little habits, and we know what will trigger somebody's. No, I'm going to dig my feet in and stand by it on principle, and I'll keep arguing the point. And it's all those lots of little things like that people seem to latch onto, and they can relate to. It being either similar to them or a member of the family or something like that. And that's what it's all about. That's what good entertainment is, I think, is that you appeal to so many different people. Even if it's only for a minuscule little thing, but it's that thing that you can then relate to. And, yeah, I agree with what Dave said. Jeremy Clarkson for president. Absolutely.
Even the U.S. version of Top Gear has its good points. Not quite the same thing. But a show that's done with, with obviously it's the same producers, but to an American audience,
they've actually sold the format, which is the important thing that's made it work. They've honed it over the years. I mean, the Australian one, they've got 3 characters which are fairly similar to what they are on English ones with the three people. But again, it's the format, and it's just tried and tested, I think. Stick to that format. That's the way you've got to do it. It's the same with...
well, have you seen the English version? Have you seen the American version?
I haven't, no.
Well, the format doesn't work in a cookie-cutter fashion like that, I'll tell you.
I bet it doesn't work like that in the German one either, if there is a German one.
They slightly modify it. It's got a lot of the same... production quality to it, but they have to modify it a bit. But it's still the same type of format. They have a challenge, and they have some crazy stuff that they do, and then they the typical report, little reporting on a new car or whatever. I wonder what the North Korean version is like.
Here's the same car we did last week.
It's the same car every week.
You just paint it a different color.
Today we're running it on rice. Next week we're going to run it on ethanol. Homebrew.
Ooh.
It is good that it's popular as it is across the world, though. It is nice to see that it's being viewed in the general consensus, apart from the average person, the odd person occasionally that might say, I can't stand Jeremy Clarkson. But it doesn't matter because they still watch the program because it's good.
It's interesting. There's another show that the only reason I take note of it is because the host and the way they produce the show includes all of the crew. It's it's the Larry the Cable Guy across America, they call it. It's a I forget what channel it's on, but it's
History.
just amusing. Goes state by state and just does amusing stories. He's a funny guy, but he includes. They ride around in a couple of vans, and he includes all the crew in the show from one point to one extent or another. But they'll be riding in the car and they'll be discussing where they're going. They're talking to the producers and the tech crew and all that stuff. And what makes it interesting is because they all participate, and he plays jokes on them, and they do jokes to each other and all that. It's just well done. It's a fun show to watch. Interesting stuff. He's always funny. But it's they just happen to hit a successful formula with that show and that cast.
I think everything's too regimented nowadays. None of these TV companies seem to be taking a risk. It's all like, well, we know that works, and we know that works, and we'll just stick to the same format, and we'll do it the same as we know people like. And you look back in the 60s and 70s, there was all sorts of TV shows being made, and they were really pushing the envelope. Nowadays, it's reality stuff. It's, we know that works. And you look at the amount of old shows that are now coming back and having a revitalization, perhaps with a different host or slightly changed the format. There's nothing new being done, like the Big Brother house, things like that were several years ago when that started. That was like, wow, this is really, really different and fresh and pushing the envelope. Now it's just a regurgitation or a repeat of something that's already happened, but they put celebrities in instead.
Sorry about that. That was Pete. Pete, I'm sorry I had to disconnect you. You're making too much noise.
This is a test of the NSA surveillance system. Had this been a real emergency, you would have been contacted.
Yeah, Pete, I think you had mic boost on there. It was picking up all your ancillary noise and air conditioning systems and stuff.
What we're getting tired of here is these police procedural shows.
Oh, well, yeah.
That's all we seem to have is bodies on autopsy tables, instant DNA, solving the crime by just, I know who did it. And it just seemed like they fit it all into the 42 minutes they're allowed.
But it's all because of computers.
Oh, yeah.
We get a lot of the ride-along shows, where they ride along with the ambulance crew, or they ride along with the police crew for that night, or the fire brigade, yeah. And, of course, they only ever show the ones where they're successful and, they're not, they don't mess up and stuff like that. So it's all psychologically made to basically make you succumb to whatever their wish is. Sorry, I'm going all conspiracy theory now.
Sorry. Hey, Steve.
Yeah.
What are they? Since we're fresh out of technical stuff, what are they saying in England about the Zimmerman outcome?
Zimmerman.
Okay, that's good. That's a good enough answer right there.
I've heard the name Zimmerman, and I'm sure I must have seen something about it in the RSS feeds I got through this week, but no, it's not springing back to mind. Just to say, you really must pay attention to this, Steve. It's vital.
No, it's not vital. It's just interesting what the other countries are thinking about it, because they made it sound like the whole world was watching the trial. So that's interesting.
No. Nope. No, I off the top of my head, can't think.
No, that's good.
Edward Snowden was a bit in the news this week.
Yeah.
But Zimmerman, no. That guy won the tennis. He was British, apparently, first time in goodness knows how many years. But yeah, I don't really know.
Yeah, I'm from what I'm reading is the support for Snowden that was really high among people in in the U.S. in the beginning is eroding big time.
Well, there's not really a huge amount going on in the press as regards what's actually happening. It's just what they, the bits and pieces that they're choosing to allow the news companies to print or to transmit the full story and everything else. It's not being allowed to be told, and you're only really getting that from the foreign news agencies. But then that's always the same, isn't it?
Yeah.
I appreciate you bringing it up, and I'm gonna make a comment, but it has to do with technology and social media, not with the trial or the result of the trial, because obviously everybody's going to have different opinions over that. But I think it's the elephant in the room if we don't at least mention technology and social media in the context of Snowden and the Zimmerman trial and things like that. We have a justice system. You can comment one way or the other, but technically, we got a lot of our legal system from the UK and from the British law and so forth. And, you have a system of jurisprudence where you have jurors and lawyers and the judges and so forth. And a system that, while certainly, you have the notorious failures, where maybe a person was sent to death row, convicted unjustly, and they found out later that through DNA that he was exonerated, or rape cases and things like that. But, it seems like, when I say the term social justice, that's normally in the world that I live in has to do with speaking up against sex trafficking, speaking up against child exploitation, those sorts of things. But instead of having, justice as we have in the legal system, regardless of what you think about it, it seems like we're getting more social justice. In other words, we're no longer concerned about the law or the Constitution, but we're concerned about this mob mentality of what the majority of people think and that sort of thing. And I was thinking about this. If you watch some of the old westerns in the U.S., sometimes somebody would be arrested and the sheriff would have him in the jail. An angry mob would come with pitchforks and torches, and they would want to break the guy. They would want to, rather than the guy getting a trial, they want to break him out of the jail and hang him on a tree.
Lynch.
And right, a lynch mob. And so now what we have in this era of Twitter and era of Twitter and Facebook and so forth, these social media sites are just lighting up, and I've just really about gotten to the place where feel free to express your opinion one way or the other, but if you're going to gratuitously use the F-bomb in your Facebook post, I'm just not going to. I see no reason to to keep you as a friend. But digitally, exponentially, this capacity for a virtual lynch mob has just become amazing. And we have we're living in the age of low information voters. We're living in an age of people who believe everything they read on the internet, and so we have this explosion of information. And people are not. Somebody used the word earlier. Are not equipped and educated to forage through all of this stuff and come up with an opinion based upon information. Instead, there's this tendency just to get this lynch mob mentality through social media, and it's disheartening for me to see. And but maybe it's just part of this information overload that we were addressing earlier with social media.
It's a coin of phrase. It's too easy to become misinformed. In a lot of ways, you got. I mean, really, you can put. Just like you got to beware of, I read it on the internet, so it must be true, kind of a thing. It's just there's bad information out there that people put out there, whether they knowingly or unknowingly put it out there, and just if I see it there, it must be true.
Yeah.
How many people really understand after taking a civic? Everybody should be required to take civics class.
Absolutely.
How does government work? What do the branches of government do? How does our court system work? Why, what does it mean to be proven beyond a reasonable doubt?
Mm-hmm.
And why is that a powerful thing? And what is the benefits of our Constitution is based on many ways on natural law that came out of the UK. And it's a system that worked for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. It was abused, but still, it was based on.
It was purported to work. Yes.
Yeah, I mean it depends. It was who was in power. So, but that the abuses are there, but the attempt was made to try to eliminate as many of those abuses as possible. I mean, I still think it's today you see the failure of the institutions not holding on to what they were chartered to do. But yeah, it's all you need is to put a seed of doubt or a seed of unrest out there, and you can harvest it and use it to your advantage. And
yeah,
I think quite a lot of the problems stem from people's lack of attention these days. They don't have enough time to pay attention to what is actually going on. They only get a snippet, if you like, or just the edge of what's happening, and then they interpret that by perhaps they see something else or hear someone else talking about it who has also had just a little snippet of information, and then it either escalates. It's like rather than knowing the full truth, where years ago they would sit down and perhaps read a newspaper article, nowadays they perhaps hear, 10 seconds of somebody else's conversation or read just the headline or half a paragraph on news or whatever, then they're not getting the full amount of information. And people don't seem to have the time to want to go online and actually find any information out about it. People's lives are too busy, so they use Facebook and Twitter and things like that to see what other people's opinions are, rather than finding out themselves. And of course, very often then they find the information that they're getting in is wrong, because so many people are talking about it in a negative aspect. When we break it down and look at the full facts, you realise it isn't anything near what people are saying it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's coming up on noon, so I'm going to have to back out. I wish you guys a great weekend. I would just toss this out before I have to say goodbye. Is not only is there the social media aspect, but with the 24-hour news cycle that we have right now, the media played such a horrendous role and does. We need more responsibility in regards to journalism. We need people who will do things based upon what's right and best for the country and the nation rather than what's politically expedient. And with that, I shall bid you adieu.
Have a good week, Bruce.
Have a good week. We'll talk to you during the week sometime.
We'll do it. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Have a good one, Bruce. I think if it was ever possible, I don't think it is going to be, but there needs to be more accountability. There seems to be far too many people that are getting away with whatever, and they're not being held accountable for either what they've said or what they've done, even when there's absolute proof to say that what they did was a lie or whatever else. Certain aspects of it, an apology isn't good enough. They need to be thrown out of the job, or they need to be charged with an offence, like the average citizen would be. You look at the amount of people in Parliament, MPs and things like that, certainly over here, that get caught fiddling their expenses or doing whatever it is they're doing, found to be breaking the law as it is written, but because they're so far up the chain, it doesn't apply to them. And I think people do need to be held accountable for the crimes that they've committed, irrespective of who the damn hell they think they are.
We've had, among the people that I have regular discussions with, we seem to have evolved into a ruling class and everybody else. And the ruling class is, as they believe, above it all, that things don't apply. And we've had our own legislators apply laws to us that they don't apply to themselves, which is just horrendous. I mean, just think about it. What kind of privilege do they have that they can apply or not be subject to a law simply because of their position, or have a benefit that only they can get?
I think a lot of them, I don't think there should ever be a career political career. You should, I think the whole system does need to be looked at and changed, because it hasn't worked for the last 100 years and it's getting worse and worse. So something drastic needs to happen before there is going to be some kind of revolution or huge amount of fight back. I can't see it happening peacefully, unfortunately. But you said it yourself there, Spence. It's a rule for them and a rule for us. And if you know or have sufficient money, or know somebody who does, then you can get away with anything, basically.
I was going to go back to the trial. I don't know how many of you watched, but after later on, like about, I think it was 10 o'clock or something, his brother was on, George Zimmerman's brother was on CNN with that Pierce guy.
Oh, Piers Morgan.
Yeah.
Piers Morgan.
Robert Zimmerman. Yeah.
And there was something that I don't think came up in the trial, and I wonder why, because they made him sound like he hated blacks, and that's why he had a motive. But his brother is saying that he's mentoring 2 black kids, and I haven't heard that on during the trial. Not that I was watching a whole lot of it, and it's very interesting. But apparently on Fox there's a Judge Alex, and I never watched the show, but I saw that apparently he's got a show, and he was saying something about if you get up at night and you go to the living room and you see somebody climbing through the window to come in and you shoot them, you're not guilty, because you feared for your life. Somebody's breaking in, and then you find out that your daughter phoned the neighbor's kid and said, "Come on over, I left the window open for you." There's nothing, I mean, it's a tragedy, but it's not, you didn't do anything wrong. So
Wasn't premeditated. Right.
It's not premeditated. It's not even, I mean, now I'm beginning to understand when I was talking to these guys on a parade last year, and I said, nah, I don't want to have any guns that shoot because I will use them, and you use them, you get in trouble. And one said, I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6. And it makes a lot of sense now. So it's
you were saying about this guy was mentoring 2 black children, I think you said, or black people anyway. But that is a positive thing for that individual. Of course, they want all negative things on the news for
right,
him, so
but
that wouldn't be broadcast.
Yeah, I'm surprised the defense didn't bring that up and say, "What do you mean he hates all blacks? I mean, he's mentoring 2 of them, and this is something that you don't get paid for."
Don't forget, there's a lot of it where they don't allow recording devices, things like that in all courtrooms. So it could be that they did try to bring that up, but were overruled and were told they couldn't mention that. The judge could have said, no, we don't bring that up at the minute. We're dealing with such and such. That happens over here in England. The defence will want to put something forward, and the judge will say, no, we're not bringing that up now. Don't mention that again, and that's it.
Yeah.
Contempt of court if you try. What's the saying? When seconds count, police are minutes away.
Now, I would like to see a situation that if you're carrying a gun illegally and everything, and you are a neighborhood watch, that when you approach somebody like this, and instead of just saying, "What are you doing here?" Said, "I am a neighborhood watch. I'm carrying a pistol. What are you doing here?" And then, I mean, somebody like that could very simply raise his hands and say, I just went to the store." So, I mean, that's what do they call it? Monday morning quarterbacks. What is it?
Hindsight is 20/20.
Yeah, hindsight is 20/20. But it's something that I was everything that they were talking about was. I mean, they knew that it's going to end up like that. It was just something to do it politically correct thing to satisfy some people, and that's a shame because I'm sure it cost the taxpayer a lot of money. It cost those people to raise money for Zimmerman, money that could have gone somewhere else, just in order to satisfy some political. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, again, this is all from just watching. I don't know that that's really what it is. Sudiani says, my answer to that is, if he is wearing a uniform, put your hands up and then lay flat on the ground on your belly. And if you come and you obviously he's not wearing uniform because it's just a neighborhood watch, but as long as he's telling the person, look, I'm a neighborhood watch person and I do carry a weapon. What are you doing here? At least you're giving the person, unless it's a 6-year-old, you're giving the person a chance to, instead of, I mean, they were saying he was afraid for his own life and didn't know who that George Zimmerman was, and maybe he behaved. We don't ever know.
Yeah.
But so that may be something that can be done. But obviously, I mean, I was glad to hear that it's not whether or not your life were in danger. It's whether or not you perceived that your life was in danger. And that is a big difference. Anyway.
You knew that the prosecution was getting desperate when in the end of the trial they said, can't we get him on child abuse?
Yeah. No,
they were just reaching.
They were saying that they all knew that it's going to be acquitted, that he's going to be acquitted. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens in Florida now, because they're talking about looking into what the special prosecutor did, or who was it, the lady that she was.
The original police chief resigned over it. And then there was another guy who was a whistleblower who talked about just happened. Who just got fired because he said this whole investigation was handled wrong. There was information that was not brought forward that could have been used to vindicate him, and there were other things about the whole approach by the prosecution that were suspect. So they fired him just instantly. As soon as he spoke up, they fired him. So now they're saying that this was done with overzealously, and well,
that's what it needs.
Watch
more
what
people
happens
to be held.
now. I mean, it's a given that there will be a civil suit.
Oh yeah, there will be.
But that will be brought forward by the federal government.
Steve, what did you say?
Like I said, it's like we were saying earlier about people need to be held accountable when they've done something nefarious or have pushed for a certain decision when it shouldn't have been like that. People need to tell the damn truth, for goodness sake. It's not that hard. And not be in it for whatever you can gain out of it at the end of the day. Do the right thing is basically, that's all you have to do, isn't it? There's so many people now that are just out for all they can get and pushing whatever agenda. Morals and ethics and things like that just don't seem to count for very much these days.
Served on. Go ahead.
No, that's I said. Oh well. Anyway,
I served on one jury. I've been called several times, but I only got to serve once on a jury, and it was a one-day assault trial that should have never been brought. It was ridiculous. I mean, we all got into the jury room and said, "Are they kidding? That they're actually bringing charge?" One guy two guys got drunk. One said something about the other, and one attacked the other one and beat the crap out of him, put him in the hospital. And the guy that did the beating sued the first guy for assault or charged him with assault, and the DA went with it. And it was ridiculous. We walked in and said, "This is insane. This is not. Why did they even bring this to trial?" And right away, we were out of there in 15 minutes to say this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
You had another one recently in the US. I read that I think it was a 19-year-old youth got fed up with something or posted on Facebook or Twitter that he was going to shoot it. I'm going to shoot up the school or something on that line. And they arrested him. I think he's been in jail for 3 months, something like that.
Yeah.
But some kind, very rich person has just paid his £500,000 or dollar bail.
Yeah.
But I mean, we had a similar case over here where somebody said they were going to blow up the airport because it was shut because of snow or ice or whatever it was, and that went all the way to court. Stephen Fry, the celebrity person, said that he was going to pay any legal fees and things that the guy had racked up. Of course, there was quite a lot, but that went to court, and the judge basically said what Spence said for that one that he went to was, you are kidding me. What on earth are you doing bringing this here? This should have been dropped a long time ago. No one seems to have any common sense anymore. Look at it as it was written, in the context it was written. You can see quite plainly that it was a joke. That is not a terroristic threat. How pathetic.
Right.
But no, they've got to be seen to be doing their jobs. No, it's more my job's worth. At least that'll give me something to do, and at least I can then say that I earned my pay this week. Oh, you stupid person.
Uncle Guy in the chat is saying, remember, in the U.S. we have 20% of the population of the world and 60% of the world's lawyers or something like that.
Yeah.
That's bad. Yeah. Well, do we have anything else to talk about, guys? Or shall we go?
Well, my stomach's rumbling, so I'm going to go and get some dinner.
Yeah, I was thinking more about lunch.
Same here.
Yeah, but then you're 5 hours behind us over here. It's light till about 10 o'clock at night here. It's really quite distracting.
You'll get over it.
Yeah, winter will be here before we know it.
Yep. All right. Dave, anything you wanted to add?
No, I think that's about it. We've covered the important topics for the day.
Absolutely.
Top Gear and the NSA.
Yep.
Ooh.
Oh. All right, Spence, anything you wanted to add?
No, just everybody have a good week
Thank you, too.
as we wade through the technological morass that's out there. Make sense out of it.
Hey, I've got a question.
Yes.
Spence, any chance that you're running Server 2012 on anything?
No, the newest one I have is 2007.
Okay. Well, that's the answer to my question.
Yeah, I can't afford it.
I understand.
When I was working and had access to licenses, it was one thing, but
Yeah, it's not priced reasonably for someone like you and I.
the last server I set up was actually an Apple server on a Mac Mini. It was about not too long ago, but I was very impressed having set up a 2007 environment with Exchange and all that, and then doing this and setting up email and a few other services on it. I was very pleased to see how quickly it went. Well, that's not to say it was as powerful. It did what Exchange did, but it was still refreshing to sit down and not have to read through a manual to get it to work.
Understand.
Steve, anything you wanted to add?
I think he's having dinner.
Oh, all right. Okay. Well, good afternoon to Kathy, Hannah, Bill, Mac, Norm, Katie, and Donna. Thank you for tuning to Computers 2K Now. We hope you enjoyed and maybe learned something from our time together. Remember to practice safe computing, back up your hard drive, and update your virus scanner. We'll be back here next Sunday at 9. But you can always reach us at computers2know.com. While you're at it, like us on Facebook. Tonight at 8 o'clock, it's Carrie's Psychic Cafe. Carrie will entertain everybody and answer questions. Tomorrow morning at 11, it is The Health Inn with homeopath Debbie Bruck. Tomorrow night, it's Breaking Free with Marilyn Shannon. And I still didn't add it to our closing, which I'm not going to have to pay this time because I'm already talking about it. But Wednesday afternoon. No, Wednesday evening now. At 7:30. It's a new show, The Lessons of Vietnam. Very interesting. If you want to see the first 2 episodes, they're right here on, well, not right here because most of you are on Computers 2K now, but if you go to nissancommunications.com, you can watch the first 2 episodes. And the most enlightening fact that I learned from all this is that really during the Vietnam War, only 25% of those who went there were draftees, and I thought there were a lot more. So tune in. That's Wednesday evening, 7:30 till 8:30. It's every other Wednesday. So watch the schedule. And at 9 o'clock on Wednesday evening, it is Reawaken Your Brilliance with Julie Seibert. Take care, everybody.